We're going to go live now. There's no intro or anything.
Okay.
Hi. Don't ask. Just don't ask, okay? Okay? You guys know the problem. You know the problem. The problem is me. I exist. I'm not good at this. I never will be. So, anyway, hi. Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. No, there's no intro. Will you
Turn my phone off.
see?
Yeah,
It's
I
not
can do
just
that.
me.
See? There we go.
He can't turn his phone volume off.
What
With me today is special guest Ty Beard. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Welcome to my humble abode.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm really, I have to apologize to the chat. You knew I would be late, but I think you had figured that I would be long past screwing up the stream start this badly. You would have been wrong. You would have been wrong, and you're forgiven for that. So I'm trying to operate this in a completely different way, outside of my normal environment, and I don't like to be anywhere but at home. Yeah, I'm going to do that in a second. So we're here today. Why are we here? We're here to hang out, smoke cigars, drink whiskey.
Cuban cigars.
Yes. Yes.
These are Romeo and Juliet. Oh yeah, he needs a lighter.
I do.
Being ably assisted off camera by people that are much better at this than us.
Yeah, we're terrible. So let me say, we're going to try and address chats tonight, but with the setup as it is, it might be a little difficult. I am going to make sure I go grab the chats that came in on the other stream. I'm working on that right now, so bear with me. We're gonna get this. But we're here to just mostly talk. Something happened yesterday, and he calls me up to tell me what happened. Do you want to explain? What?
The sudden Twitter thing? Or what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sent out a tweet because.
Oh yeah.
Because you were.
Yeah, so.
I thought you were just kind of failing. Frankly, I was a little disappointed in your Twitter performance.
And I appreciate that. Although someone did point out that I have 666 followers per tweet, which the math actually kind of almost works out that way. But we're over 9,000 now, or as I should say, over 9,000. That's impossible, right?
It was expertly executed. It was fantastic. Very good. Much better than Chris Sabat could have done.
Well, that's good. Yeah, thank you for boosting me over 9,000. I'm told that's a lot. So
I'm not good at this.
Nah, don't worry about it. I didn't get this one right either. So, but they should be very smooth.
I'm sure we're already getting roasted in chat.
Yeah.
Because we're using a lighter.
Oh, this is not just any lighter, guys. This is a World War II lighter. This is a classic Zippo.
But yeah, so we're here today. I mean, just to kind of hang out, have a little fun, make fun of the fact that Ty is really close to having more followers than a certain blue-haired whale
really?
even has on Twitter. You're within like 100.
Oh, okay. That's an achievement of sorts, I guess.
I'm gonna need the lighter back.
Yeah. Well, actually, we had a bit of a humidor issue, so these are a little dry, but they're still delicious.
They should torch up like a 100-year-old house then.
Mm-hmm. No, they should. Oh, that's good. So I don't know. I'm just trying to be gracious here.
All right,
Yeah,
so
these are Romeo and Juliet Reserve. So these came from Cuba.
Ooh, those were contraband up until recently, right?
I think they were probably contraband when we got them.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, it was funny because I did have to break my clients from the habit of mailing them to me back when they were contraband. I appreciated them thinking of me, but
Yeah.
receiving contraband through the mail, I'm pretty sure there's something wrong with that.
Well, And as my viewers might know, the U.S. Post Office has an uncanny sense of smell. Did you ever see the YouTube show FPS Russia?
No.
Okay. There. Goodness gracious.
Excellent. You got good flame.
So FPS Russia is a guy who would review firearms in the Russian accent. Okay.
I think I probably did see him. He would say, "Don't do this if you are not the Russian," something like that.
Yeah.
It always, yeah.
Well, turns out that guy got tagged for someone was mailing him marijuana. I'm sure without his consent. But here's the worst part: they were mailing him oil, right? Now, marijuana oil doesn't smell. There isn't a smell. Plus, it's inside capsules or vials or something like that. The probable cause they established was based on a strong odor of marijuana coming out of the box.
Even though the marijuana is sealed. How did they know, I wonder?
I think they looked at the name and just decided to search his mail preemptively.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just my conspiracy. I would never suggest that a government agent might try to, lie about...
No, that would never happen.
No, they would never lie to establish cause.
Never happen. Yeah. One of my favorite Babylon 5 episodes that has a subplot where Garibaldi is fighting with the post office. So even 300 years from now, the post office is a force to be reckoned with.
Did you ever see that Seinfeld with the post office? Kramer told the mail that he didn't need the mail anymore.
No. I can only imagine.
I think Wilford Brimley was the postmaster general. He's like, I was just having golf with the president. Do you like golf, Mr. Kramer?
Oh, I did see that episode.
Oh, it's
it was
great.
right after. I think it came out right after The Firm, because Wilford Brimley played the scary security guy on The Firm. The Tom Cruise
Sure.
movie.
Yeah. That was before the diabetes commercials.
Diabetes.
So anyway, we're here. I do have questions for you. This is somewhat of an interview.
Okay.
And then we can, however long we end up going, I wanted to talk to you about this this other lawsuit. I got more information on it. I kind of prepped you a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But I got some more information about what happened there. And I don't think it makes it better,
Really?
personally. Yeah.
It's pretty crappy set of facts. It seemed to me anyway. Dismissing with prejudice. I mean, that's bad.
Well, he didn't, since the lawsuit was already dismissed, he just denied the sanctions motions.
Oh, okay.
But the reasoning for it was, well, if the other judge wanted to sanction him, he would have. But the problem was they never got a sanctions conference from the other judge. He kept pushing it off.
And then he retired. Okay. Yeah, the thing about litigation is there are all kinds of things that can happen. We like to explain it to clients. Well, this is what happens, and that's what happens, and then we do. It's all a very logical, reasoned stair-step thing.
Right.
But it's a real world adversarial process with third parties.
Yeah, and what I've been trying to talk about is that human element from the judge, because there's no way you can mitigate and try to predict, but there's no way to actually know what that human element will be, because the judge, someone could have run over his cat that morning.
Yeah. And
then that changes the outcome of a case.
Yeah, judges are human beings, just like anybody else.
Barely.
Well, I'm a practicing trial. So judges are human beings, and they're fine human beings, and I certainly would never want to say anything.
They're truly some of the best human beings. Really tremendous. We love our judges. Judges are terrific people.
They're fabulous.
Absolutely terrific.
Well, and of course we're undergoing what I'm perceiving a generational change too. The boomer generation of judges are beginning to retire, and a lot of Gen X lawyers are stepping up. We even have a few judges that look to me like they're millennials anyway.
They are.
12 years old. And I would say in general, my perception right now is the newer, younger judges are, as a group, doing okay. They seem a tad more sophisticated, more interested in what the law actually is, and a little less in just kind of what the judge thinks it ought to be.
Right. I think I would make a terrific judge.
Yeah, you probably would. Yeah, actually, all kidding aside, you would, because you're very, very interested in the law. Now, you'd be rough. Lawyers would hate you.
Oh yeah, I'd be super rude to them.
Yeah, well, they would try some bullshit argument, and you just go, counsel, stop right now before I put you in jail.
You know, lawyers are my least favorite people.
I'm not a big fan of them either. I like my lawyers. I like the people. I do have a few colleagues that I like, but as a group, yeah, it's a very unhappy profession. And I've always wondered why that is, because it's not like anybody is forced to go to law school.
No.
You actually have to put a considerable amount of effort. But I truly think that a lot of times people go to law school just because they don't have anything better to do. That was me. I was just told by a bunch of people that, I was obnoxious and overbearing and opinionated and would make a good lawyer. So,
I was told similar things.
Yes, I do believe that might have come up sometimes.
So, all right. So to get some things out of the way, I'm going to do the thing. I don't know if we're going to have time to get to all the chats today, guys. So I don't want to oversell it. I'm definitely going to do the $20 plus chats that are out there, and we'll see. But we don't have infinite time tonight, unfortunately.
No, it is a school night. At some point, we have to go to bed.
And so what I may end up doing is I'm back home tomorrow night, and I may lead with any chats that were missed tonight. And in advance, I apologize for that. It's just the nature of the setup that we have and the time constraints.
Well, yeah, we kind of came up with this idea sort of for fun not too long ago, and this isn't an optimum setup. It's not a studio. But.
Right. And really, it's I'm like looking at chats over here, and
it's great. You got the chats.
I've got the chats on this computer.
Oh, okay.
We've got the stream going on this one, because with laptops you don't want to tax it too much.
Right.
I've learned. No, they're great. But I do, I want to get the $20 chats for sure.
Okay.
And I want to ask you about the hearing. Because now I know you can't talk about everything.
Sure.
But I think there's some things we can clarify, and can get some general impressions about how that went.
I think so. How's your cigar, by the way?
Magnificent.
Yeah.
It is very, very smooth. I will.
Oh, I remember the first time I ever had a Cuban cigar. I had always thought, Cuban cigars, that's probably just hype. And I take it as like, oh my God, this is the best smoke I've ever had in my body ever. I'm getting a buzz. Yeah, Cuban cigars truly are just, I don't know what it is about the soil or whatever, but man, they really are good.
It's the communism, I think
so.
that really sells them.
Yeah, apparently communism is allowed to do one thing well besides murdering a bunch of people. I guess in Cuba's case, it was make good cigars.
So this is 1835 bourbon.
Yeah, it's a regional bourbon. You're much more of a connoisseur than I am, so I look forward to your evaluation. Oh, and do not forget the Star Trek tumblers
Yes.
that my daughters gave me.
Fantastic. There you go.
If that comes through or not, but yes, we have the teachings of the Enterprise.
So, look at chat. They can't hear you. You need to either be closer or be louder.
Okay. Is this better? Help? All right. Let's do it. How's this? Can someone on the chat tell me whether or not you can hear me?
Yeah, I see you moving on the thing. I think you were just a little lower than me.
Okay, yeah, I'm in this chair that leans back real comfortably, so I'll try to sit forward.
Have good posture. Come on.
Yeah, I should.
Try harder.
Right.
Here, I'll give this bourbon a shot real quick.
With my children present, I suppose I should always talk to them about posture. So. What do you think?
Ooh, that's good.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good, but my tastes are a little less refined.
It's weird. In the mouth, it's very subtle. On the swallow, it's heavy on the corn. The corn is the bourbon flavor that you get. It's the real difference between like a bourbon and a rye or other type of whiskey is that there's that character is coming through from the corn. I don't know how to describe it, but that's what it is.
You're doing as good a job as the wine snobs do.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to say it doesn't taste like corn. I'm just telling you that's where the taste comes from.
Right.
It's the sugars that the corn brings to the bourbon.
Okay.
But it's good because sometimes it's heavy in the mouth with that flavor. This one is really you notice before you swallow it, you don't get a lot of that, and it's not acidic, or it doesn't taste like gasoline.
Right.
It's very smooth. It's very
Yeah,
smooth.
it is very smooth. I've enjoyed this so far. But anyway, about the hearing, I guess.
Yeah. So what was your overall impression of the hearing?
Oh, it was like a fairly typical hearing. Discovery battles, judges hate those. And so, we knew going in the judge was going to be kind of, being a father myself, I saw the body language. I'm gonna pull this car over and I'm gonna swat everybody in the car. I don't care who's at fault.
Right.
So we knew that was coming, but I'd never been in front of this judge before. But he runs his courtroom very much like I think I'd run a courtroom. Very crisp. No nonsense. And myself personally, I prefer those kinds of judges.
Right.
As far as the hearing itself, it was a pretty typical, early hearing. Discovery fight, you're squabbling over this and then the other thing. But we're very, very satisfied with the outcome.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the outcome that you got was basically an offer that you gave to them something like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, there seems to have been a little bit of confusion about that among some of the commenters on such. I offered two alternatives. One was, because our concerns, excuse me.
Good man down.
Yeah, that's right. Our concern was exactly what you talked about in your stream. We were afraid they would file an anti-SLAPP motion immediately after deposing Vic. And if they did that, we would be deprived of any discovery, and they'd have up to 2 to 3 months to release that stuff out on the internet and make hay out of it and all that. So I offered two ways to resolve that. One was, fine, you can do all that, you just agree to a confidentiality order. In the alternative, I said, forget the confidentiality order and just agree that we can depose your clients whether you file that motion or not. Am I still being hearable? I know y'all are messing with the microphone.
Wait.
Oh.
Yeah. It's touchy. Sorry. If it doesn't have the rubber band, it'll turn off.
Okay.
Are we good?
Is that any better?
I think so. Did you ever do theater, Ty?
No, I did not.
Well,
So
it's
should I project my voice? Is
a little bit.
Okay, well, I can probably speak up. Yeah, so I offered two alternatives. One was confidentiality order, and you can do your deposition, and if you file your anti-SLAPP motion, discovery stops, but you can't, release that stuff out on the internet. The second option, which actually was what I wanted, if I could have chosen, was no, we just agree that both sides can depose the other, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. And so that's what we got at the hearing.
Right, and you had offered that. Like I said, you had offered that to them, and so what ends up?
Actually, I believe if you look at the email.
Well, let's not get technical here.
Right.
But so what ends up happening is when you break this down, you have one party spending a decent chunk of money to get what they could have had for free weeks ago and starting a slap fight over very little. And you don't have to comment on that, of course.
Well, I think that's an accurate characterization, unfortunately. I think, though, one of the advantages of having an early hearing like this in this case is all the parties now had an opportunity to see the judge in action. And I think that you never know, but I seriously doubt we're going to have too many of these kind of fights in this case. I just don't think that judge is going to put up with it. And I'm good with that. I've always thought that expansive rules of discovery are the best for the system.
Sure.
Unlike you watch TV and lawyers surprise each other at trial all the time. Well, that's just not how it works in the real world.
No.
And if we're going to get to the truth and get to the merits of the case, everybody needs to know what's out there.
Right. And see, that's been one of the big problems that I've seen in this case is that one side has seemed to hint that there's this long list of facts that's going to be revealed.
Right.
And simultaneously, they've been revealing the set of facts, and it makes me wonder if they actually have any bodies in the trunk, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, and one time on your show, I just flat called them on it. I don't think they do. I haven't thought they do because they haven't been exactly guarded in what they've released and what they've claimed. I think if they had anything devastating, they would have deployed it by now.
Sure.
There's certainly there's no logical reason on earth for them to hold off on it until now. I mean, but I mean, as a general rule, I thought the hearing went fine. I don't think any of the lawyers embarrassed themselves on any side. I mean, everybody went in there and did their jobs. They made their case, we made ours. The judge did not rule on any of the motions. So that's what he did is what a good judge does. He resolved the dispute.
Sure.
He metaphorically put his arms around both of us and knocked our heads together and said, "Are you sure y'all can't work this out?" And we did.
Right. Now, there's a nasty rumor out there by a sick weirdo that says that you were late to the hearing.
I have no idea where that comes from. We were the last group of lawyers to get there, but we had plenty of time. We had time to unpack all of our notebooks and stuff, meet opposing counsel. I'd never met any of the other lawyers face to face in the case.
Right.
Of course, Funimation's attorney was there. Jamie's attorney was
Okay,
there.
so Jamie Markey's attorney was the other.
Yeah.
Because there were, from what I heard, there were two people in the audience. I heard there was Chuck Huber there.
That's interesting. I was kind of in the zone, so I didn't recognize Christian or Chuck.
Right.
Because I was focused on the case.
Yeah, Christian, who was on my show the other day.
Right.
And then he mentioned that there were two people up semi-near where Casey and Casey's assistant or paralegal or other counsel. I'm not quite clear on who that
I think
was.
she's other counsel, but I'm not sure. He introduced her, but I'm terrible with names. But yes, those two guys were Funimation's attorney and Jamie's attorney. And I had talked to Funimation's attorney on the phone a couple of times, and he seems like a very good lawyer. Jamie's lawyer seems like a pretty good guy. He and Jim, his office is actually very close to our Frisco office, and so they were comparing, restaurants and stuff, I guess.
Oh, sure.
But anyway, no one was late to the hearing. I don't think I would have the guts to be late to that judge's court, to be quite honest. He seems like he might carry a grudge.
Well, the person who said it, I will say, has a proclivity for lying, and specifically,
that's just simply not true. We were not late.
Can you confirm? If you can't, I understand, but can you confirm or deny? There's another rumor that you sent a particular person a cease and desist letter, who is a non-party. Shane.
Yeah, that guy that you destroyed. Yeah, no, we didn't send him anything.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the guy is, except that I saw you ruin him on your show.
He's got this weird habit of lying about things that happened. Like he suggested that you sent a cease and desist on behalf of me, which is absolutely ludicrous. I don't want this guy to stop talking.
No, that would be counterproductive.
Endless content.
No, we've not sent him anything. There's no truth to that allegation.
Yeah.
I got to say, this may be the first time in my career that I've ever had people, saying that I sent them stuff when I didn't. That's a new one. Of course, there's been a lot of new ones in this case.
Have you ever run into someone desperately trying to be sued or added to a lawsuit?
Never, ever in all this time. I think, all kidding aside, I think that a lot of people don't understand just how miserable it is to be sued. I mean, I've never heard one person at the end of a lawsuit say, "Boy, that was fun. Let's do this again."
Yeah.
Not one time. Win, lose, or draw. I mean, I think people get a very, very distorted view of it from television. Probably doctors would say the same thing about doctor shows. Mm-hmm. But no, never.
Man, that was action-packed in the ER. I want to go back.
Yeah. What they don't show is the hours and hours of doing paperwork. And,
right. Well, the weird thing, my experience, and I think this resonates with a lot of attorneys, because there's no way to rate an attorney.
No.
You can't trust reviews because in any situation, generally half the people in the room hate you.
That's right.
That's only if your client likes you.
Right.
And so attorneys' reviews aren't really useful. It's hard to get someone to write a positive review about you because they just went through hell.
Yeah, and they've paid you a lot of money. We half jokingly refer to the client curve of gratitude. It tends to peak the day of trial, and then it starts declining right after.
Why are these bills still coming?
Yeah. And I say to clients, I mean, it's not uncommon for a client to say something like, "Well, I'd rather pay you and give the money to you and your family than that SOB." I'm going, you say that now, but
yeah, it changes when the ink's on the check.
Yeah, litigation is it's a grueling, expensive process, no matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually kind of think that's sort of the genius of our legal system.
Right.
There is a forum that people can resolve their disagreements short of gunfire, but it's painful and it's long and it's expensive, and that we see this in mediation all the time. The reason most lawsuits settle is not because people go, "Wow, I suddenly understand the other side's view. I finally get it. I see their point." Now they look over that table and go, "I'm tired of paying lawyers. How about you?" And and it's sort of self-serving to say it, I suppose, but that really is a part of the system. It really incentivizes people to be reasonable.
Well, I've had several conversations in cases I had where it's like, all right, next step of this case, this is a particularly aggressive sort of case that you're in. The parties have been going for a while, but that's not necessarily typical. A lot of times you have stuff has happened, the damage is done, not ongoing. And so then you have time to spend prepping for trial and getting into discovery rather than starting out in discovery right away. And so I've had several conversations up in my state, which we have a different process. Once you serve the summons and complaint, the lawsuit has begun, and you don't file it until you guys don't resolve, until one party decides that the case isn't moving, and so it needs to be resolved by the court. So we'll get to the point where on our end, it's like, all right, if we can't come to the table here, filing fees and then discovery costs are going to increase dramatically. Go talk to your client and see if they really want to do that. If they really don't want to come and mediate this out, that's the next step.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a come to Jesus moment for a lot of people is, look, you've spent some on attorney's fees so far, but let me just let you know, once we have 6-hour depositions to start doing, you're going to be paying me in.
Oh yeah, I mean, you take a 6-hour deposition. Well, first of all, you're going to be there a lot longer than 6 hours. You're looking at an 8-hour day easy.
Right.
Rule of thumb for us on prepping for depositions is about 2 hours for every hour of the deposition, whether we're preparing our client for the deposition or getting prepared to depose the other side.
Sure.
So you could be looking easily at 20 plus hours. I mean, that's $8,000.
Right.
At my billable rate.
Per deposition.
Per deposition.
And you've got multiple parties.
And then you have the additional costs of the court reporter and the videographer and all that. You could easily be in a $10,000 per deposition situation.
Plus, you're not deposing just the other party. They're going to depose your party,
right,
and maybe other witnesses as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think. I always explain to clients, and I'm very careful to make sure they understand this. Is once we start a lawsuit or once we get sued, depending on the situation, the other side has the ability to drive up our costs, and vice versa. Because it's the nature of our system, you can file a BS motion, one that has no merit whatsoever. If I don't respond, though, we lose.
Right.
And the paradox is, to respond to a completely meritless motion, we still have to explain why it has no merit.
Yep. You still have to do the research. Still have to draft the response, and then you still have to go do oral argument. And you may be able to recover fees on that, but you can never count on that.
No, judges don't like to award fees. I believe if I were a judge, this would be my reasoning. The last thing on earth you want to do is encourage lawyers,
right,
to file more, pointless motions and stuff. And you start awarding legal fees, that's exactly what's going to happen. So courts are very reticent. I don't think I've ever said to a client, "Oh yeah, we're going to get our legal fees paid." I've always said, we're going to shoot for it. They might, but let's don't count on it.
Right.
I don't know what other lawyers do, but I know that in our firm, I've said this before on your show, we don't practice chicken shit law. now we'll respond because you have to, but
Yeah.
I've never started a discovery fight that I can remember. I just at the end of the day, the judge is going to make you turn it over to him. So what's the point of squabbling about it? And that's not a shot at my opponent in this case or anything like that. I don't mean it that way. It's just anybody that goes to a lawyer, you really, 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 really should try your level best to work it out with the other person before you start filing suit. Because it's, win, lose, or draw, I promise you're not going to be happy with the outcome. Now, in some cases you don't have a choice. That was the case with Vic. These people were bound and determined to destroy this man. We had no other option.
I'm the worst cigar smoker on the planet.
Well, those are dry, so don't feel too bad. They don't stay lit very well when they're dry, but they're still very, very good. Mine's just about gone, but. Yeah, there you go. Pro tip 2 is to rotate the cigar while you've got the flame.
Yeah, you know what?
And try to get it,
I'm gonna have the burning side down and hope that flames
There you
rise.
go. Yeah, then you do that too.
But I'm admittedly bad at
Well, here's the
cigars.
thing. Once you've smoked the cigar, nobody will know.
Right, that's true.
So,
That's true.
Yeah, I don't get much into all the ritual of cigar any more than I do with booze or anything else. There's
Well, the ritual of whiskey, have you done the 4 steps?
No,
Oh my good, let me help you.
I'm a complete.
You're helping me. Okay, so you take that glass of whiskey after you've exhaled. I need you to shove your whole nose in that glass. Take a big, nice whiff of it. Now you take a sip in your mouth, but keep it there. Let it rest on your tongue. Maybe let it kind of slide underneath. Swallow with intention, and then exhale through your mouth as you swallow. After you swallow.
Yeah. Okay. You get more of the. I guess. What would that be? Bouquet if it were wine.
Right.
But yeah.
And you hit there. Each one of those steps. This is the thing I like about whiskey. Each one of those steps is crafted. The more expensive the whiskey is, the more skill that goes into that.
Is.
So each of those steps is intentional by the distillery master, who's crafting that whiskey. And each bottle, if you ever find like a distiller's edition or whatever, they're tasting that bottle probably a year or 2 years into the aging process, or they're tasting that barrel. And if it tastes just right, they'll actually set those barrels aside for special reserves and distiller's editions, and the other ones that you get kind of go into your regulars. So that's why you have like 8 different types of Jack Daniels going from $26 a liter for a 3/4 liter, and then on up to, you could be spending $100-$200 a bottle.
Yeah.
And each one of those, it's not just the age that goes into it, but it's the quality of the actual mix that's gone into the barrel to age.
Okay.
And
No, I've never gotten really into the more refined aspects of drinking and stuff. As you know, I'm a man of simple tastes.
I'm going to complex those tastes.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I smoke Cuban cigars, so obviously I'm not. I didn't go down to the drugstore and buy these.
All right, let me read some of the chats that came in. These were from the 36-second stream that we did while I was busy expertly executing my craft. We've got from John Doe, it says, "Let the cigars be lit with pages from Moronica's response. With the holy blessing of the emperor, so says the stains, beards for the beard throne." So that's nice.
Thank you.
Then we've got Ink Penification says, "Late and prideful." Is it Pride Month?
I don't know. Is it really?
No, I hope not.
Okay, yeah.
Hey Ty, I hope you enjoyed the Low novel I have gifted you.
I have been trying to.
Legend of Galactic Heroes.
Yes. That is an incredibly elaborate universe. I'm still working on it. Lately, because of these cases and stuff, I haven't had quite as much time for fun as I used to. But I will absorb it.
Sure.
It really is apparently like 10 books long or something. It's a huge series and a very, very, a lot of world building.
Okay, now we've got Ink. Wait, no. And Nick, before you realized you hated math, what field of engineering were you going to do? Asking as someone as a future electrical engineer. Well, I don't know. My grandfather and my uncle were both chemical engineers, so I thought about that. Although chemistry, I was fine with, but I didn't really enjoy it. So I kind of wanted to do aerospace engineering or aerospace engineering.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Well, of course, I'm chairman of the board of a tech company, and we have a lot of one of the founders is in fact an electrical engineer, and there are a number of electrical engineers in the company. I don't think an electrical engineer will ever be without work.
Right.
Because our whole civilization runs on it. Engineers are an interesting group of folks. I'll just say that.
What's the worst type of engineer?
Oh, I don't know. I think
Is it a civil engineer because they all end up as state-employed bootlicks?
I don't know very many. I can only think of one civil engineer that I ever knew. He's a pretty good guy. They're all very, very. The thing about engineers is they're very, very meticulous. They're very meticulous, and they want everything to be extremely predictable. And in fact, I talked to your grandfather one time and was explaining to him that the difference that we have a terminology problem. When I say law, I mean what you and I think of as law, Nick, right?
Right.
Something created by human beings that's not really that predictable, but it is actually fairly responsive and fair, and that's the tension: predictability versus fairness.
Right.
Your grandfather, when he thinks of law, he thinks of kinetic energy as 1/2 mass velocity squared. It's if you know the inputs, you will always know the exact outputs.
Right.
And once we realized that we were using that word and for completely different meanings, once we got past that, he understood that, because when clients will ask me, what's the outcome going to be, I'll say, well, it ought to be blah blah blah. Oh, bugs,
Yeah.
it's June bugs. It's June. Yeah. Anyway, I'll say, well, we ought to get this result.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I don't think to explain how the legal system works to people, they'll be saying to themselves, does this guy really know what he's talking about? And the answer is yes, but I can't talk in certainties because there are no certainties in the law. There's only probabilities.
Right.
And, that's why, I figure there's probably a 10% chance at least of winning a case you shouldn't win, and a 10% chance of losing a case you should not lose.
Absolutely.
If that's small, it may even be higher.
Well, and that makes a good segue to the case I was talking about.
Yeah.
So this is the lawsuit, and someday, I think this week I'm going to go through and read the pleading. Maybe you'd want to join me on that stream.
Okay.
And if it can't do it this week, I will wait, because a lot of my audience probably hasn't seen the read, and I would love to see your reaction live as we go through paragraph by paragraph. It's 50 pages.
Oof.
And it's New York law, but I don't think it matters because
it doesn't matter.
this is largely common law stuff.
Yeah.
And I can explain the particulars of the New York laws because there's some specific statutes with rights of privacy that I can explain how New York, because I had to research them for the case. But I think that would be fantastic to get your reactions to some of this stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been pretty interesting from what you told me.
Yeah. So here's the weird thing. About a year ago, this case was resolved, and for purposes of brevity, all matters were dismissed with prejudice against all parties.
Okay.
However,
By the court.
Okay. At oral argument and then with a follow-up order.
Just get the hell out of my courtroom. I don't ever want to see you people again.
Yes. And basically there were 9, I think there were 9 defendants. For 7 of the defendants, it was improper jurisdiction because they were brought in New York,
That's
but they're
right.
they're all California.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
For one of the defendants, it was dismissed with prejudice because they were completely irrelevant. That was the employer of one of the main defendant comedians. And then as to the last defendant, it was initially dismissed without prejudice because the judge couldn't tell which claims were actually attributable to that defendant. So he gave counsel the opportunity to amend their pleading, eliminating all the fluff. Now, I actually did that on a stream. I went through and
with a
and,
red pen and just
and took out, and let's just say there was no case to be made.
right.
At least not with the pleading as presented. Now, if they could have added other things to it, they may have been able to come up with a cause of action. But just attributing what was in the pleading, trying to tie it to him, there's nothing.
I'm curious, why did they sue in New York? Why on earth would you want to fly to New York from California if you didn't have to?
I don't know, but he swore up and down that it was a convenient forum for him. Over and over, so that in
Really?
their pleading swore that it was convenient.
Was the lawyer from New York?
The lawyer's actually, I believe the lawyer was pursuing his MBA in New York, so he's licensed there, but his firm is from Michigan. So I think he was in New York for business school.
So maybe the theory was it would be cheaper to fight in New York because he would be there and the other lawyers would have to go to New York or come to New York from California.
If I give him any credit, the most reasonable reason to pick New York is that the deepest pockets were a company called Weber Shandwick,
Okay.
a huge multinational PR firm, and they're located in New York.
Okay.
So
Well, now were they the ones that got
they got dismissed for being
Dismissed 'cause
irrelevantly added.
well, that blew the jurisdiction stuff right there.
Right.
If that was their theory.
Right, and one of the comedians did live in New York, the one who's employed by Weber Shandwick. But anybody who knew anything, including the plaintiff, knew that they were not going to get money out of that guy.
And it was state court in New York.
State court. Now, it was in New York City, and because they sued for so much, it actually got moved to the commercial division, which is an expedited process for sophisticated parties, and it involved businesses. So it was completely ill thought out. But I got to save all of that. Long story short, there was an outstanding motion for sanctions and cross motion for sanctions. The judge reads through.
I need fire.
Yeah. The judge reads through he reads through the record, he reads through everything, but then he just determines that if the other judge had wanted to sanction the party, he would have. But the trick is, the judge said, we will schedule a sanctions conference at a later date. They had to wait for the refiling to lapse. Because he said if they're going to amend their complaint, we have to look at that. And so once that complaint was not amended, they didn't refile. Then he dismissed it with prejudice. Then that sanctions conference never happened. And they pursued it, apparently. He made a big post about it and said they sent letters to the clerk, letters to the judge. They sent another lawyer in person to judge's chambers to request the sanctions hearing. And the judge just kept blowing it off and kicking it down the road, and then he retired. So this new judge
comes in, and of course, sanctions is one of those areas where the courts have got tremendous leeway. And appealing assignment, we've got a sanctions appeal right now going. We're hoping the Texas Supreme Court will grant cert on it. But the trial court judges in Texas, and I imagine everywhere else, have a lot of discretion. That's one of the things about our legal system too. Not to lecture too much about that, but the judges do affect the outcome of cases. The type of judge that you have can be a huge factor. I knew a trial lawyer one time. This is a pretty slick trick. He would bring multiple copies of his pleadings because they assign the cases randomly, at least in Texas. And so he would file his petition. If he got a judge he didn't like, he would dismiss it right there.
That's not a bad plan. It's harder to do that with e-filing, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. But even you could still do it though, because in Texas you can dismiss if the other side has an answer. You can dismiss, and it's done. They're
sure
unilateral. I suspect that there might be some consequences for that.
You filed this 8 times. Well, Judge.
Well,
the other guys suck.
I hate to say it, but there are, we have a very small list of certain judges that we would prefer to never see again.
Right.
They're just awful judges. Every profession is going to have good, bad, and adequate. And judges are no exception. We in Texas, we elect our judges. That probably creates greater variability. Probably have more awful judges and more excellent judges, I think. I like that system because I like the fact that we can hold judges accountable. We the people. I mean,
Right.
because for better or for worse, courts do have the ability to effectively make law, and I like the idea that voters can express their wishes.
We had a federal district court judge come to the law school while I was in law school and talk about that. And he talked about when he first became a federal judge, and he had a mentor, a senior judge mentor, and he would always call him up after he felt like he did something wrong. And
Mentor would?
No, the judge would call his mentor, and he'd say,
mentor.
"Hey, I think I really screwed this up." And the mentor's first question every time was, "Is it impeachable?" And the guy would say, "Well, no." And he said, "Then who cares?
Who cares, yeah.
Lifetime appointment, appeals court will handle it," which I don't think is the best answer.
No,
but
I mean, people respond to the incentives that are created. And it's the same, it's the same thing. What?
I accidentally inhaled a little deep.
Yes. Be careful about that. If you give somebody a lifetime appointment in anything, don't be shocked if they become less responsive.
Right.
I mean, we see that in education and at the college level with tenure.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that no one should ever have a secure job. I mean, for life or for any,
Right.
I think everyone should be held accountable. I know I certainly am.
Mm-hmm.
If I screw a case up, it may not be impeachable in the sense that I lose my license, but I can certainly be held accountable by a client.
Yeah, I think Roberts might need to be fired right now, but we'll talk about that a different time. Okay, back to these.
Yeah.
Saturn Otaku says, going to have to catch this on replay, but wanted to extend my thanks to you and Ty for the great work you've been doing. Hey, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, and let's put this on the record again,
Sure.
because some people seem to be confused. I think maybe your opposing counsel might be confused. Am I in any way employed, compensated, or directed by Beard Harris Bullock and Hughes?
Oh God, no. No, I'm sorry. No, of course not, Nick. No, absolutely not.
Right, and
We have never paid you in any way.
and at least to your knowledge, am I employed in any way or directed by your client?
No.
No.
In fact, we've consciously kept that from. I mean, it would be inappropriate the way you do your bit. First of all, you're not going to listen to anybody.
No, I'm terrible with authority.
Yeah, I was going to say. I find it somewhat humorous the insinuation that there could be a puppeteer, controlling you. I'm going, you don't know that guy very well, apparently. No, absolutely. For the record, you're not in any way involved in this case for financial gain,
Or otherwise.
Right, you're interested in the case.
Right.
I mean, that's.
Now, I get financial gain from the case, but to be fair, if you guys screw up royally, I mean, that's an opportunity for me to get financial gain as well.
I would expect that you would hold us accountable.
I did on that 2017 typo.
You did, yeah. I tell you what, I really, typos are going to happen, but boy, it pisses me off. I really, I hate it when that happens. But, a lot of times especially with motions and stuff, you're filing those things under very severe time pressure. You're typically trying to hit some kind. We got to get this done by this amount of time. It's going to happen, and the legal system is set up to, it doesn't collapse because somebody put an apostrophe in the wrong place or.
When you read this new suit, you might want to change that rule.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because you've built it up as being world-class awful.
I don't know how to express how bad it is. It's beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, yeah.
Sinful says latent hetero. Bob the Troll King says homoerotic and less than early. Blaine 20s is tardy and confirmed furry. Jacob Wagner says, hey, Nick and Ty, if you had to pick an army in the 40K universe, which one would you pick and why?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, Space Marines. Particular chapter, I don't know. I always like just plain vanilla Ultramarines.
I like Ultramarines too.
Now, I built a chapter for Brianna when she was younger. It was called The Emperor's Fluffy Bunnies.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and we did a little logo of a bunny rabbit head with giant fangs. That was pretty funny. You remember that, don't you? Yeah.
I prefer, well, you probably haven't been following the new developments
No.
lately. So the Primarchs are coming back.
Okay.
Robute Gilliman, of course, of the Ultramarines, is back. He
Okay.
is de facto emperor right now,
Ah.
leading the Indomitus Crusade. Cadia has fallen.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I was going to say I like the look of the Imperial Guard stuff.
yeah.
That's the most that's the coolest looking stuff. I got a bunch of Imperial Guard tanks and crap because they look cool.
And before I get hammered, Cadia has fallen, but the world broke before its people. They literally flew a Blackstone fortress onto the surface of Cadia and destroyed the entire planet.
Wow.
So
No, I haven't been keeping up with the 40K universe. That's
well, one of the things that is happening now that Robute is back is the Custodians.
how did he come back? I mean, what's the backstory on his return?
It's a long story that involves Cypher from the Dark Angels
Okay, yeah.
and some Eldar witchery.
Well, unlike Amazon Prime, I am not going to delve in that stuff for this conversation.
No.
Which, by the way, you understand, Carrie had no actual
Oh yeah,
knowledge.
It's
of
perfect.
Yeah, that's the kind of person she is. I was watching your interview with the Amazons with one of our board members at Tango, and she starts talking about the Sisters of Battle and all this kind of stuff, and he goes, "Is she a gamer?" I said, "Nope. Learned all that stuff this afternoon, I think." I'm not sure what he was impressed more with, her knowledge of 40K or Lacey's facility with the pistol. I think both,
both commendable.
both commendable. Yes.
But so Robute has deployed the Custodians, so they're now not only defending the Emperor, they're a forward battle unit, and
Wow.
the Custodians have always fascinated me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the army I would pick.
That whole universe is just an amazing thing. I mean, and it's been that baroque and twisted and dark from day one.
Right.
There was never any time that 40K was just this nice, pleasant, sweet place to live. I mean, the very first version, I remember when it came out, I opened that thing out, what the hell is this? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we just never seen anything like it,
Nothing since either.
No.
And I will say it was a pleasure meeting the Amazons today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I had great and productive talks with all of them.
Yes.
So,
They,
and to the chat, I did prompt Christina for a little bit of talk on the Tfue and FaZe Banks, FaZe Clan lawsuit. So hopefully we'll get a discussion on that at some point,
Yeah,
but
I
no
think
promises.
She's had a couple of a couple things come together that she had to deal with, but I think she'll probably be able to do that soon.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. Okay. Let's see. Unconventional 42. Hey Ty, will you be at Anime Matsuri?
Yes.
If so, are there specific days or panels you will attend? We would like to meet you and sing you a song. Also, can't wait to meet you, Nick.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna be on your panel. aren't I?
Yeah, that's Friday,
Okay.
5 p.m.
Okay.
It'll be broadcast to the world.
Oh wow. Okay.
We'll be in the main, from what I can tell, we're in the main assembly for Matsuri.
Cool. Yeah. That's also the day after our John Wayne birthday party.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
We'll be driving up to Houston after that, or down to Houston after that party. So.
Yeah, that'll be.
Hopefully.
I'm
Don't stay up too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at 5.
That's a 5.
It's at 5. Okay. So he, assuming everything goes as planned, Ty will be on that panel. Although the intent is not to have you on that panel as Vic's attorney or anything.
No. I'm not going to talk. Yeah.
He's going to be talking about how this stuff has impacted fan communities in the tabletop and wargaming universe, whereas I'll be talking more from the comics and anime and gaming perspectives. Tug and Hirohei, I believe, will be on that panel as well. So we'll all be kind of giving our own perspective on how fan communities have been invaded. And I'm not going to reduce it to social justice, although that's the root of most of this.
Yeah.
But they've been invaded by companies who have forgotten who's paying for the products.
Right.
And creators who, again, have more interest in their own agendas. So that's the Anime Matsuri panel. Hoping to make it something a little different and kind of, it'll be memorable, hopefully.
Hopefully.
We only have an hour, so we're going to have to really, I don't know how to do things that
I was
quickly.
going to say that'll be interesting.
But you guys will have to.
Let's pass a talking stick around.
Yeah.
I've got the stick now.
That sounds very social justice-y. We'll have to have a talking pistol or something.
There you go, yeah.
Or whiskey.
Yeah, the talking whiskey.
You have to take a shot and then say your piece. Your second and third pieces will be particularly interesting. War God 739 says, not only late and gay, but boomerang the intro. Looks like we have the trifecta, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Nick's Hex says, how many boomers does it take to start a live stream? Also, RIP sanctions motion against Kevin A. Landau. Hashtag Maddox won. Now, Maddox didn't win in the traditional sense. Maddox avoided losing worse.
Yeah.
That's something to remember. But in the same token, Asterios did definitely lose. I mean, he has a $30,000 legal bill that is demonstrably based on a falsehood and absolutely frivolous inclusion in the suit, and he gets no recompense for that.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. When I hear people say, "Did you win?" This isn't a football game. There's not a scoreboard. There's not a, I believe I win whenever I'm smiling more than my opponent at the end of a hearing or at the end of a trial or whatever. And it's possible that both sides will get what they want. It doesn't happen very often because usually if that were the case, you wouldn't be in the courthouse in the first place. But so I do think it's kind of fun when people say, well, we won or they lost or whatever. And the recent case is a good example. There were two different outcomes I'd have been satisfied with. I got one of them.
Right. And now, to be fair to the other side, if their desired outcome was to avoid a confidentiality order, they got one too.
They got one too, yeah.
And it's okay to have win-wins, although I think they might be overselling that win a bit. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, if I were, I always like to play the war gamer thing of if I were running the other side, I know what I would be doing, and I'd be running a very different game plan.
You'd hope, because I think their game plan is incompetent.
Well, yeah.
Brian Doig says, don't forget to read the chats from pre-stream. Oh, it's over 9 minutes. Yes. And so those are all from the previous stream. There are, of course, a bunch of them from the new stream as well. So I'm going to try and get to those. But, and he sent, did it? Oh, yes. Okay. So I'll have to read those as well. As far as, can you tell people kind of, not from a strategy perspective, purely procedural, what the next steps in Vic's case are and any rough dates? My understanding is that the discovery deadline for document production from their side is coming up on June 10th, I believe.
I believe that's correct, yeah. We're going to be in the doldrums of the case for a while because everybody's going to be sending out discovery requests. Depositions second half of June. We opposing counsel and I have talked. We've agreed we're just going to work that out, but we're shooting for sometime in the second half of June. Trying to get passed down in Matsuri, and of course I'll be at a game convention this weekend with the Amazons.
Oh yeah, that's in North Texas, right?
Yeah, it's the North Texas RPG Con. It's actually in Dallas, but yeah, their presence was requested actually.
Dallas is kind of the Canada of Texas, to be fair. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, don't be that guy.
No, that's never mind.
Yeah, don't have time to get into that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a nice convention. It's put on by one of the principals of Frog God, and looks like we've got some really nice old school role playing guests and stuff. Kind of looking forward to it. It was funny because none of the Amazons are role players, and Brittany, my daughter, bought them all their own dice.
Oh, nice.
And they were all swirly, pretty dice, and the right color for each one has their own color.
As stuff. Appropriate.
Yeah, and I'm going. You'll have fun, but you'll never, ever want to do this again. They're holding going, okay, what is this?
So you'll be there this weekend.
Yeah.
Vic will actually be at Savannah Mega Comic Con.
Yeah. In
Savannah, Georgia. Right? It's Georgia.
Yeah.
I think. He'll be there again. If you guys have, if you're inclined in this way, please show your support to Savannah Mega Comic Con. I'm actually unaware of any particulars about how they've been impacted by sticking with having Vic at their show, but I imagine that they have received some negative feedback because, again, just the North Carolina appearance that he did. And did I hear that right? I don't know if you heard. I heard that he saw something like 500 people.
Oh yeah, it was. The crowds are staggering wherever he goes. I mean, his fans are very devoted to him for a reason.
By the way, the Jacksonville Mall can eat some hot lead for all I care.
No kidding.
I cannot confirm this, but I've heard the number of emails that they got complaining about him were low and overtly false.
Overtly false, 2 or 3, and anonymous. And and this is the thing that we've talked about this. We've got to start finding ways to hold these companies accountable because they're enabling these lunatics.
Now,
I don't know, and I don't know the answer to that question. I'm simply saying that's one of the challenges for fighting this war.
Right. I will say that the martial arts studio that Vic went to also got at least one email.
Yep.
And that email is not anonymous.
Nope.
That email is not anonymous. It is easily linked to a very specific Twitter account. And that person's information is, I was able to find out where this person worked because they posted it. Not because of any elite research.
No.
And that is not anonymous at all. And I can't imagine what they would do if several people emailed their employer.
Yeah.
I don't think people think through what this means to someone.
No, and they're exploiting the fact that Vic would simply not want his fans or his supporters to do anything like that.
He doesn't, I'm sure.
Yeah. No,
he's long said that.
No, he's been very, very clear and adamant about that. And I understand he's a good guy, and that's why we admire people that do the right thing, because the right thing is often disadvantageous.
Did you see? I did a video a while back, and I had a certain rant in there. I don't know if you happened to see it, but I talked about how I don't necessarily mind being. I'm an attorney. I don't mind being the villain of someone's story.
Nope, I saw that, and yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna just leave it at that for now.
Yeah. Well,
I know what Vic would want, but Vic doesn't control my show.
No, that's right.
And I certainly don't mind being the villain of someone's story.
And again, I have to do what my client wants, and so I respect that and honor that. But I'll tell you, I've always liked that scene in Sherlock, where he grabs Moriarty and he says, "I may be on the side of the angels, but please don't think for a moment that I'm one of them."
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way. And I have a certain Old Testament type view of this sort of thing. I really would love to inflict personally, just me personally, I would love to inflict the same type of pain and suffering these lunatics inflict on others, because I'm pretty certain they'd be howling like stuck pigs about it. They'd be screaming about the unjustness of it and all this.
Now, I haven't I need to be clear. I have not leaked this info, and I didn't get it from you.
No, I don't know who it is.
I do. I haven't leaked it yet. I haven't resolved exactly what to do with it, but it's very, very interesting to me that these people think that they can do this stuff and not have any sort of retaliation.
I think we're going to turn the corner eventually, especially if fans continue to support these efforts like they have in Vic's case and others. I mean, look, my message to fans is, and I'm seeing this in my own hobbies too. We're getting the same. We'll talk about this at Matsuri. We're getting the same stuff. We're getting people who actually aren't even part of our hobby. They're very tertiary, very minor participants in it, and they come in and they want to change everything to suit their own psychotic, crazed, whiny rules. And I'm deeply offended when somebody walks into my area and says, "I want you to change to satisfy me." How about you get out of our space, or you change? I mean, if I join an organization, I do not say the first thing I want to do is change all the ways that organization does stuff. I conform myself to the organization, and maybe after I've been a member for a real long time, maybe I'll start trying to affect change. But, the idea, we saw boycotting in some of the crowdfunding and some of the product sales and stuff. Somebody will come in and say, well, I'm not going to buy your product anymore. Well, you weren't going to buy it anyway.
Yeah, how about make your own then?
Yeah.
There are RPGs, there are templates out there to create your own.
There is you talk about no barrier to entry. You literally, all you have to have is a word processor.
Right.
And you can design products and stuff. But that's a dirty little secret too, right? The people that screech the loudest about this kind of stuff are typically the least talented of the creators.
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry.
I don't know any
I'm just calling it the
particular.
way I see it.
I don't know of any particular aquatic mammals that would be completely untalented at something, but somehow.
Well, the software developers are running into this. These lunatics are infesting their space. These people want to impose, behavior codes on software developers who are, they're all like, I guess there's probably a lot of overlap with the computer gamer or electronic gamer market.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pure meritocracy in software, and they absolutely will tear each other a new one if what they produce is inferior.
Right.
And then along come these little snowflakes that are lousy programmers, have no actual programming skill in a lot of cases, but they want to impose a code of conduct. And damn it, tell these people to go pound sand.
Yes.
They're ruining our hobbies. They're ruining our fun. They're coming in. I actually one of these days expect at some point to go to my gun club, and somebody will be in there wanting us to change the way we shoot because it offends them somehow.
Right.
Now they'll be lucky to get out of there probably.
They'll tell me not to one-hand my AR.
Yeah, or something. Or I don't like. I don't think you should be able to bring ARs because that triggers me and make a trigger. But I mean that's the thing, right? Go do something else if you don't like it.
Have you ever fired an AR?
Me?
Yeah.
I own several ARs.
I used to. All mine are at the lake. I've said it over and over.
Mine and show you.
Yeah.
No,
You need to come to Minnesota, and we'll do a Second Amendment stream.
okay.
And we'll just we'll shoot skeet in the backyard.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I own a couple. I own a Mini 14, an AR. I own an M1A, which is the civilianized version of the M14.
Sure.
I've got a couple of old World War II bolt-action rifles. I've got the German Mauser and the Russian Mosin-Nagant. Great deer rifle.
Deer rifle.
Deer rifle, yeah. I've got a British. I've got the Lee Enfield. I'll tell you what I do want though. I want one of the old time, late 19th century British Enfield rifles. If you ever watch the movie Zulu, which is one of the very best war movies ever made.
I've seen it. Was years ago, but I've seen it.
These things are like 50 caliber single shot rifles. I mean, they're big guns, and I mean, I read an actual account from a British soldier in the Zulu Wars, and he said, after about 2 hours of firing that rifle, you were in such pain that being skewered by an assegai just really didn't scare you very much. But yes, I have been known to fire an AR. One of my favorite AR stories actually was, I have my clients typically are gun owners, as you might imagine, Texas
right.
and all. But one client in particular came in one day, and it was back when ammo, we had a spike in ammo prices right after the Obama administration came in because federal agencies were just buying a bunch of it for some unknown reason. I guess they didn't understand supply and demand. So for about a year or two there, the price of ammo went up. Anyway, client comes in and he says, "How are you fixed on ammo?" And I'm being a smart ass and said, "Oh, I'm down to less than 1,000 rounds. I don't know, what I'm going to do." And literally the next day he comes in with 2 grocery bags full of boxes of 5.56 ammo and says, "Here, just off my bill, whatever you think that's worth." And I was like, I was kidding. But,
well, see, but the trick with that is you take the ammo price off the bill, but you have to bill for the hours of counting out the ammo. Yeah, that's a lawyer trick for y'all.
The funny thing was, I took it off and he put it back on. He said, "Nah, that was a gift," But I mean, so I learned not to joke about it. You don't joke about ammo in Texas, man.
No,
that's serious stuff.
No, I bought 1,000 rounds during the scarcity. Because you couldn't find, the only 5.56 ammo I could find was tracer rounds, and they only sold them in little boxes of 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I went to a sporting goods store, and I see the guy lugging these things onto the shelf, and I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh, it's 1,000 rounds of 5.56. We just now got 9 boxes." And so I was like, grabbed one and ran.
What did that cost?
I want to say, at the time, it was about $250.
No, it's more than that. For 1,000?
No. Sorry,
Yeah.
$449. It was
Yeah.
$449 for 1,000 rounds.
And that wasn't, and it got more expensive than that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only about 56.
That was before that was just during the scarcity, before the price spike really kicked in.
Well, I bought my AR. I'd always wanted an AR-15. I had a Mini 14, which is a great. It's a Ruger's assault rifle, basically. But anyway, right when in 2008, when I realized that the Democrats were going to just completely mop the floor with the Republicans, I figured there'd be a gun control, surge, which there always is.
Right.
And that I probably wasn't going to see the prices that low for a long time. And I was right. I bought a Smith & Wesson AR-15, and it went up 50% in price within 3 months after the election.
Mine's a SIG 516.
Yeah, SIG's a good one.
Patrolman, I think. it's called.
AR-15s are a hoot because they're totally modular. I mean, it's when I was a kid, a lot of young men would tinker with cars. That was the thing. They'd play with cars and they'd soup their cars up and
I
stuff.
have ashed my entire body.
Yeah. But,
Rookie mistake.
no judgment here. But yeah, ARs are fun because you can literally just customize them to an endless degree.
Now, I have to say, during the broadcast, I got reports from a very reliable source. Both Savannah, Mega Comic-Con, and Vic's appearance in Dublin are both being brigaded heavily right now.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So guys, again, if you're a fan of Vic, the best thing we've seen so far is countering that brigading nastiness with support for the conventions that are bringing him.
Tell him, yeah.
I mean, that support means so much. You can't, I will tell you from the mouths of Kamehacon that the support that we showed for Kamehacon helped them bring Vic back when they were getting otherwise blasted on that.
Agreed. And, let them know. Let them know that you appreciate them bringing the guy that you want to see, whoever it is, if it's Vic or anybody else.
And they have email addresses, guys. Again, being respectful and supportive. Twitter goes a long way. Emails go a very long way. Yeah. They see them. It fills their inbox. That's how these brigading anti-tactics work, is they fill their inbox with nasty stuff and threats and lies. So if you counter that with support, it really does go a long way. Again, I don't ever tell anybody what to do. No. If you're the type of person who likes to act in that way, I'm just suggesting that there's an avenue to do it, and the cons do appreciate positive support.
Yeah, and they deserve positive support because they're taking whatever the actual business risk is, they believe that they're taking risk and they're having the guts to stand, so they ought to be commended for that, I think.
Yeah, and speaking personally, no matter how sure you are of yourself and your position, seeing people over and over say nasty things about you, it gives you pause. Either way, that's human. That's human, and not all cons are arrogant attorneys.
No. No. Thank God.
Yeah, truly.
But yeah, thank God, a lot of things are not all arrogant attorneys. Although arrogant attorney, that kind of like tall giant.
It's a little redundant.
Wet water, yeah.
Yeah. Again, they're the worst people on earth.
Yeah, it's an interesting profession to say the least. Yeah, the thing is, they're trying to hijack our hobbies. They really are, across the board. Whatever your hobby is, I guarantee you there are people out there trying to turn it into a platform for their particular neurotic, insane behavior. And as I said, the tragedy is 90% of the time these are not people who actually support your hobby.
Right.
Look, if I suddenly decided that war games needed to be more inclusive or something, I could point to 40 years of being a war gamer. I can point to the fact that I've been involved in this hobby. I know all the key, all the buzzwords, all that. many times these people haven't been in the hobby or in the field for very long at all.
Of course.
They're just looking for cheap dopamine releases.
And remember that they came into the field.
I know.
So either if they come in and talk about how uninclusive it is and how much they hate it, one,
go do something else. This is supposed to be fun.
well, they're probably lying, right? This we saw this with Anita Sarkeesian and Gamergate. I hate to reference back to Gamergate because I know all the baggage that brings, but we saw it.
That's the archetype. I mean, that's the template right there. A bit part minor player in an entertainment hobby.
And someone who had, prior to Gamergate, overtly said that she was not a gamer,
Right.
but then when she entered the public space, presented herself as this veteran gamer who had been in the pastime. These people, if you go into a hobby and you immediately are talking about how much you hate it, and the hobby hasn't changed, well, then you're just lying.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, any hobby, if the majority of members act a certain way, whatever that way is, it's because they enjoy it, right? I mean, way too often what these people do, they come into a hobby, not only do they want to fundamentally change it, they want to change it into something that the current hobbyists will not enjoy. So
Right.
their goal is to destroy your hobby because they're miserable, pathetic people. I mean, I'm just sorry.
They're also ugly.
Yeah, both inside and out.
Yes.
They
Yes.
are extremely unhappy, bitter people, and that's the tragedy of social media. We've allowed the dream team of crazy, psychotic, miserable people. We've allowed those teams to spontaneously form in a way that's never been possible before.
Right.
And the businesses, companies, like I said, we've got to solve for that. We've got to figure out a way to hold companies accountable when they give in to these lunatics.
Right.
A relatively free market like we've got will solve that problem eventually.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Dick's Sporting Goods one of these days is going to be out of business.
I hope
because
so.
they have pissed off, and they
I hope they get replaced by Cox Giant Guns.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I saw one sporting goods store that ran an ad and said, "We're not Dick's."
Now,
But that-
I have a business proposition for you.
Okay.
It's called Cox Giant Guns, and my plan is to buy up all the Dick's Sporting Goods that shut down and just sell big, large caliber rifles.
I think that would be. I think you could probably do something with that.
Can you help me apply for a federal firearms dealer
heck
license?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can help you with that. But that really is a case of that, though. I mean, that idiot CEO of Dick's. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion of what he is. I haven't actually tested his IQ. He cost his company $200 million in sales just so he could virtue signal and impress his neighbors.
Right.
If I were a shareholder of that company, I'd want him thrown off the tallest building in the city where the headquarters is located.
In Minecraft, but also in real life.
Absolutely. Because here's the deal. Your job, if I'm an investor in a company, your job is to maximize my investment.
Exactly.
It's not to use my money to stroke your social justice agenda. And that's what's going on. These companies, it isn't the company that's doing it. It's the individuals in the company that apparently are perfectly happy damaging their own company.
Yeah, because I don't think whatever you think of a corporation being, which is generally a collection of individuals,
Right.
I don't think the overwhelming majority of Dick's Sporting Goods people who were employed there while they were selling guns somehow have a problem with the concept of selling guns.
No, of course not.
But one decision maker gets sweet talked at a bar by either a leggy blonde or an investor of some sort, or a purported investor, probably
I think
not
it's
even a real
probably
one.
just a next door neighbor who
Right.
they want to go to their dinner party or something. I mean, a lot of this is a class-based kind of thing. But here's the thing. I mean, I'm sorry, social justice loons don't go to Dick's Sporting Goods. They're not
No.
your customer base. So you're out there you're insulting your customers to satisfy people who will not shop at your store.
And you know how we know this? The soy-based protein mixes aren't sold out.
No, that's right.
Okay, I have to do this, and you can
Sure,
remain
yeah.
silent during this part if you want.
I'm not sure if I can, but we'll try.
This is a reminder. Well, you might understand in just a second. This is a reminder that that Vic has a GoFundMe. It is closing in on $175,000. It is very, very important that when people are able, if you are able, to please continue to contribute to that. If you can't, fully understand. I would never ask anyone to give beyond their means, but litigation. We talked about how expensive just a deposition is. You're talking 10 grand. With Vic's case coming up, you've got Monica Rial, Ron Toye, probably a Funimation executive, at least one, probably Jamie Markey, maybe others who need to be deposed. Each of those, you're talking, will be conservative and say somehow $5,000 to $10,000, and all of them are going to also want to depose Vic. The amount of money that this type of lawsuit costs is astronomical. I don't say it lightly. I know, believe me, I know how hard it is to give to that, but I do want to encourage, if you cannot, please consider sharing it, retweeting it, throwing it up on your Facebook. When you talk to people who haven't heard about the situation, you tell them, they're like, man, that sucks. They don't, not even, a lot of the donors to the GoFundMe are not actually anime fans, or they weren't before. But remember that Vic is also involved in the Star Trek community. He's involved in video games. People know who Vic is and don't even know it. And to find out that someone that voiced a character that they like, or put on this entire Star Trek Continue series that a lot of people really resonated with, might not know he's going through this. So just, if you're telling someone about it and they're moved by it, share the GoFundMe with them. And that goes miles. I can't express enough how much each one of those shares, the value of that is just as valuable as a donation. So please just consider, I'm bad at shilling things. I'm bad at selling things. People scream at me all the time to push the GoFundMe, which I'm getting a live update here is 172,755. So just consider it if it's within your means. It's every dollar is a blessing, and this is a way we can fight back that has not been fully explored before. Crowdfunding lawsuits has happened. It happened with Richard Meyer. It's going to happen more and more, and we're going to be able to fight back. The success of this campaign is being noticed, trust me, by people in adjacent fan communities. And this is our tool. This is our tool. Their tool is shrieking, but their tool never has dollars attached to it. Look at the abject failures of Mars Girl and Mars Girl's GoFundMe. Mars Girl, abject failure. Also her GoFundMe. Look at the failure of Marky's GoFundMe, the failure of Dominique Sky at Life. All of that compared to what has been done for Vic. We're the people who are willing to put our time, our effort, and our money into it rather than passively sending some aggressive defamatory note and then thinking our job here is done. And then they're going to go shriek at the next cause. They do it all the time. We actually have the tools to fight back, and these people never, ever expected it. They never thought Vic would fight back. And I'm going to tell you, anyone looking at this who is pro-Vic without that GoFundMe wouldn't just think he might not fight back. They'd say, how on earth can you? How on earth can you? The reality is a lawsuit like this will frequently cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So every one of those dollars really does help. So I encourage you all, again, if it's within your means, please consider supporting Vic in that way. And even if you're not supporting Vic, support the idea, the movement, the concept, because we've been asking for how to fight back for years. We've got one. We've got a way. We've got a plaintiff who is, I can't find the evidence against him. I can't.
There's not any.
So that's that piece. And I don't know if you can even comment on it because
I can comment on the lack of evidence. As I've
Right.
said all along, I don't represent predators.
Right.
You know, the Amazons would not, I wouldn't put my staff through that. They wouldn't be comfortable doing it. He's not a predator. He's a victim. And, you know, Nick is right, guys. they have gotten as far as they've gotten specifically because people have not been able to use the legal system to hold them accountable. And the reason is simple: it costs too much, especially at a time when you've had your career very nearly destroyed by these loans. You're gonna, hi there, I'm Ty Beard, I can help you, but you got to give me most of what you got left.
Right.
I mean, that's not a sell anybody can make. And they're trying to take something from y'all. Those of you guys who are big fans in the other hobbies, the gaming space and so forth, these people are trying to destroy something that you value. And we can fight back. The laws give us the weapons and the tools. It's not cheap, unfortunately, but it is effective. And,
So, what's
myself,
up?
I'm just tired
Okay.
of people trying to ruin my hobbies.
Yeah, no
I'm sick
kidding.
of it. I've had it. It's like, shut up. If you don't like the way war games are done or role playing games, shut up and go do your own thing. But stop whining about inclusion and all that bullshit. Anybody that wants to play a role playing game can play a role playing game. It's Cowboys and Indians. It's the oldest kids game ever for adults.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and if you want female Space Marines, make your stupid female Space
Yeah,
Marines. I mean,
yeah.
Sisters of Battle are right there, but you don't have to modify. You don't need new rules.
No, of course.
Just
not.
find a gaming partner who will play with you.
Yeah, but that's not their goal, right? Their goal is to destroy. These are hateful, miserable people. They don't create anything. All they do is destroy.
Ugly too.
Yep, inside and out.
Some of them with arms that are far too long for their bodies. Okay, Brian Doig says, don't forget to read the chats from the pre-stream stream. Oh, and it's over 9 minutes. I know, sorry. RZEQDW says, are you seriously in Texas right now and you didn't even pop by to say hi? In fairness, pal, I'm like 5 hours away from you and I was here for 60 hours, if that.
Yeah, you got here yesterday afternoon and you're leaving in the morning. So
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm back. I'll be back in Minnesota by 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
It was a down and back trip. I had a meeting. This has been just complete fortune that I was able to pop over to Beard Harris Bullock and Hughes and set this up. So Aztec 0523 says later and gayer than usual. Nick Boomer level over 9,000. The Texan 83 says too much boomer. YouTube cannot cope. The level of internet literacy is like illiteracy is like Ty's Twitter over 9,000.
Oh boy. Where do you do the internets?
Help! I was at dinner right before coming here, and I'm like texting time, like download this right now. I forgot to tell you to download this so we can actually do this stream. Coolman229 says, glad to have you back, Ty. Y'all are looking like bosses with those cigars. Also, this stream will provide me with more faces to use for meme videos. The next one coming up is Lawmite versus Ron Soymu. Skeetnet says, this is awesome hanging out with Ty and Rekieta. I mean, even if it's just me and Ty out here and Rekieta over wherever the Swamp Thing lives. I don't like smoking, so I'm just chilling all the way in the back. Bloodthirster Barry. Where did that go?
Cigars are not smoking. Cigars are a whole different.
Cigars are relaxing.
They are. They really are. I like them.
Bloodthirster Barry says, God has sent his champion to me in the form of a wife screaming for divorce outside my apartment door. Woke me just in time to see the early but also late gay and boomer stream. Well, good luck with that, brother.
I was going to say.
Family law is the most hated law from my perspective. It may be worse than real estate law. Suppa Sandwich says, Ty switched my undergrad to history and decided to pursue law school thanks to you and Nick.
Well, don't blame me now.
Yeah. Forget that you said this in a couple years.
Yeah.
When you, that what is it, that second semester of 2L,
Oh yeah.
when you hate literally everything and everyone around
there's
you.
a lot. You hit the wall at the end of the first semester. It's like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Second semester, it's like, am I ever going to get through this?
Yeah.
Well, time has stopped, and then that glorious 3L year where you're on your way out.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just get through it.
I just have to not fail this many classes, and then I can go.
Yeah.
and I can go. Let's see. Question for you both: is a bottom tier law school in Florida worth it? Example: FAMU or Barry Law in Orlando. Drinking Glenlivet 12 tonight. Cheers. I'll tell you, I went to a low tier law school. There's no anybody complaining about the tier of your law school is either an idiot or a snob or both. It depends where you want to practice. If you want to practice in a major metro area, especially out of state, then you need to go to the highest tier law school in your state and also do top 10% of your class. If you're going to practice in a mid-sized firm or out in a rural community or even a local large town, it doesn't matter what the firms in your area will know the school. Talk to them. That's actually probably the best thing. Call up some firms in your area and say, what do you think of grads from this law school? They'll tell you what they think of them.
Yeah.
And that's that. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that?
I don't know that I would hold my example as typical because I never worked for another law firm. I hung a shingle right out of law school.
Me too.
Yeah. I encouraged you, I think, or maybe, I don't know if I encouraged you or just, scared, talked you into it or what.
You didn't discourage me from hanging my own shingle.
Yeah. That's an extremely rare way to go about it. But I'll say this, in 22 years of doing this, I have yet to have a client ask me where I went to law school, except long after they hired me and we're just sitting around chatting.
Right.
But never has somebody walked in my office and said, well, I got to know what law school you went to, before I can hire you.
Right. And those rankings change from time to time, and no one knows what your law school was ranked 10 years ago unless you went to Harvard or Yale.
My opinion, for what it's worth, too, is this. When you get to the level of an accredited law school, no matter what tier it's in, the differences between the students in the lowest tier accredited law school and the highest tier law school are virtually unmeasurable in the real world.
Right.
Right. An LSAT score of the 99.9 percentile versus the 98th percentile. There's no difference, practically speaking.
You took too long on a question.
That could be explained by you accidentally drank decaffeinated coffee that morning. And that's one of the reasons law schools can, in my opinion, law school can be very frustrating is because the professors have a class full of students who are essentially indistinguishable. They've got to rank them somehow, so the rankings become highly, highly abstract and arbitrary.
Right. And even GPA to an extent. I mean, for example, my first year contracts professor, his rule was something along the lines of 2 people in the class got an A.
Yeah.
And the average student, he was old school. You can read about Harvard grade inflation all you want, and the shocking amount of 4.0 students at Harvard is something worth investigating. But you can read about that. My first year contracts professor, the overwhelming majority of people were average, and so they got a C.
Oof.
Which, for many of the people in that school, is, that's...
He's lucky that somebody come after him.
Well, he used to be president of the law school about 20 years ago, and now he's a retired, very respected professor. Well, he's probably stopped now. But the reality was, the majority of people got a C. If you got a B in his class, everybody knew you did well. If you got an A in his class, everybody knew you were a loser. I'm talking. No, I actually don't know who got A's in that class. I was not one of them.
I personally don't think that law school does a very good job of turning out lawyers. I think it does a great job of turning out possible law professors.
Possible or legal researchers.
Yeah. But because practicing law is a craft.
Right.
It's a craft, and you can't test for that.
No.
You have to actually try it before you know you're any good at it.
Well, I was telling Senator Hughes today that my first case as a lawyer, I was up against a veteran attorney, 30-year family law attorney. She went to a much better school than I did on the ranking system, and I stomped her into the dirt. We won on every single issue at every single hearing, and I hung my own shingle. And what they don't teach you in law school is how to be a practicing attorney. They don't teach you at all. So I was reading the rules, learning them as I went, probably breaking some of them, but it didn't matter because the fact, actually it probably worked out in my benefit because she had been in the business for so long that she believed several things to be true that were absolutely not.
Right.
And at every motion hearing, went before the judge and I said, Judge, that's not the law. She's like, well, that's how we do it. And I said, but that's not the law. And we won on all of them. And her client paid, I took that case pro bono. I regret that to this day. But the other party, I actually got him on the stand and he had the foresight to talk and whine to the judge about how much he was paying his attorney. So since he brought it up, I started asking him questions about it on cross. He spent 15 grand just fighting to not give my client 5 grand.
Oh, God.
And he ended up paying my client 6.5.
You wonder how that happens. You really do.
Well, I think the advice came from his 30-year attorney to fight it, which I told her flat out. I said, that's stupid advice to your client, and you know it.
Well, you know,
I'm rude.
well, yes, you are. That's okay. We like you anyway. You know, anybody that we hire, I tell them my philosophy on this is very simple. I assume my opponent is as smart as I am and knows everything that I know. Because here's the thing. That person on the other side of the table passed the same bar exam I did.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if there is a difference in ability, it would probably be wise not to rely on it. If it turns out you're a little bit better than they are, great. But I have that absolute ironclad rule. I never expect to go in and outperform my opponent.
The practice of law isn't really, I mean, performance helps.
Sure.
But it's really about putting in work.
Right.
I mean, you do the work. And if you're a good performer versus a bad performer, it's really just about the amount of time you take to do the work, to be a good attorney.
Yeah. Because I'm a military history buff and a war gamer, I tend to use military analogies to law, and there are some similarities. But, you know, you can look at 100 battles, historical battles, famous battles, and if you look just at the nature of the terrain and the makeup and size and capabilities of the armies, you will predict with 99% accuracy who will win each battle.
Right.
Right? And those are battles with men like Alexander the Great, Robert E. Lee, whoever. I mean, the great captains of history. The fact of the matter is, those things which are analogous to the law and the facts
Right.
in a lawsuit, those things are 90 to 95% of the determinant of victory.
Yep.
The advocate is gonna be 5 to 10%, or the generals be 5 to 10%. You know, and so, yes, I'm not going to be falsely modest. I think I'm a pretty good lawyer. I mean, I've got a decent clientele, and I've been doing this a long time, and you know, but I will never walk into the courtroom saying I'm just going to defeat that guy because I'm just so much better. That's beyond stupid.
Right.
And yet, I see colleagues do that all the time. One of the most effective trial lawyers I ever knew was a guy here in Tyler. He died at 89 years old in his hospital bed. Still, he was reading a petition. I mean, he was just a total badass. And he was one of my mentors early on. He was my dad's attorney way back, and when I went to law school and got out, he took an interest in me. But I mean, if you heard him talk, you'd think he was some redneck farmer who didn't know anything, because he was a redneck farmer. But oh my God, you know, he was fantastic in the courthouse. Anyone who ever underestimated him didn't do it twice.
Right. Right.
So the answer to that guy's question about the lower tier law school is, I think exactly what you said. If you want to work in a big downtown law firm, yeah, you're going to have to go to a higher tier law school, and grades are going to matter a lot. If you want to be a lawyer, you know, I don't know. I personally, we had to threaten to waterboard the senator before he'd admit that he was a cum laude graduate. You know, I'm not a cum laude graduate.
Me either.
Nope.
No.
Well,
right in the middle for me.
Well, Brianna came along at the beginning of the second year. We were in final exams, first semester, second year. And in law school, you get one exam, and that's your grade for the class. you know, and I came in after the very first exam. There was a note on the door that said, "Ty, come to the hospital." I walked in, and they got it on video. My mother hands her to me and says, "Would you like to meet your daughter?" Yeah, I really wasn't focused on exams for the rest of the week.
Yeah. Well, I went into law school with one kid, and when I graduated, my wife was pregnant with our fourth.
Yeah, that's you're just going to have different priorities,
Right.
I mean, you know,
That's just how it goes. But the thing is, I mean, if you want to go work for those big firms, that's great, and there's a lot of upward opportunity for you. But also be prepared to work harder than you've ever worked in your life, because those are grist mills.
yeah, it's very much it's a very, very, very shallow pyramid. You've got a gigantic number of just grunt associates that are going to be burned out to a very tiny percentage of partners. And, you know, that particular thing never appealed to me, because, I mean, 1 in 100 of you are going to make partner. Now, come on, do you actually think you're going to be the one, you know, statistically?
Yeah. It's the same as any profession. The top 2% will do exceedingly well.
Yeah.
And everybody...
But the big firm model is a sweatshop. I mean, that's its economic model.
Right.
They're going to bring you in, pay you $100,000 a year, and bill you out $400,000 a year.
Yep. Oh, that's something that you guys should probably... I don't know if most people know this, but when your billable rate is not your income.
Oh, God, no.
And it doesn't matter if you're a solo practitioner, your billable rate is your income, but you also have your expenses. You have your own overhead, your own office, your own research materials. All of your marketing is done by you. A big firm, you're trading off a portion of your billable hours to them to pay for all of that as well.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to know why big city attorneys cost more, it's because commercial space costs more in a big city than it costs outside. And it's not
a
in
lot more.
Right.
Well, in big firm marketing, and of course, you know, big firms with big partners.
Yeah.
That's a significant overhead too.
Right.
Yeah, I, you know, a lot of people have been in big firms and very successful. It never appealed to me, because my theory was if I earned $1, I wanted to keep a good chunk of that. The idea of giving 3/4 of what I earned and worked for to somebody else. But one of the things is, you never bill every hour you spend working. If you're like us.
Right.
You know.
Only insurance attorneys do that.
Yeah. Well, the big firm lawyers do as well. But, you know, I work for business owners, and I can't send somebody a bill for a 5-minute phone call. Not if I want to keep them as a client, because it pisses them off. Something fierce.
Insurance attorneys do.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
Yeah.
No knock on insurance attorneys. I'm
No,
just
I remember
joking.
I had a buddy in a big firm. He brought me in as outside counsel, and you know, to help on this particular case. And I saw his bill, and I said, "Man, it looks like you're selling stationery." You know, because I mean, it was this many copies at this cost, this many faxes sent, and all this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Postage and stamps, and I'm going, you know. But no, I think rule of thumb for me, most lawyers who aren't in the big firm sweatshops, you know, they're going to work probably 2 hours for every hour they bill.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of an average.
That was my experience.
Yeah, mine is more like an hour and a half for every hour, so I'm more efficient. But still, there's just a lot of work. Well, for example, I don't charge clients when I'm researching what the law is if it's an area that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
I've never felt like that was ethical.
Even though it's specifically in the rules to allow you to do that.
Yeah.
So long as you disclose to your client that it's an area you're not familiar with.
Yeah, I'm not going to charge a client for educating myself. Now, that said, we get into this area most people don't realize. So, the law, what is the quote law in there? You look at the statutes. I might know what the statutes are, but I may also have to read the case law to see if there are cases that match up with our facts, because that does alter things. That's different. That's legitimate case research.
That's anybody has to do that.
Yeah. But you know, somebody comes in and says, "Ty, I've got a riparian, a water rights case," and for whatever reason I say, "Yeah, I'll take it." Well, I may spend 8 hours learning the basic, you know, learning the ins and outs of riparian law. It would not be right to send a client a bill for that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're in Texas, so you don't have water issues.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, so yeah. Okay, I think we answered that one. Broody says, "Hey Nick, Cracking open a bottle of Lagavulin 16 to celebrate my choice to go to George Mason Law.
Hey, congratulations.
Congrats, man. That's
Good law
awesome.
school.
Both of you are an inspiration on how to do it right. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Texan83 says, lol, Shane bragging about releasing documents in his Discord trying to compete streams, I guess. Well, good luck, Shane.
Well, you're going to give them to us anyway. You might as well put them out there.
I've been saying that.
You know, isn't that the truth?
These guys keep saying,
Ooh, we're going to release this stuff. Well, we're going to get it sooner or later. Just go ahead and release it.
just release it. You want it all public, make it public. I think, well,
Yeah,
we've covered this. They don't have
It's
anything.
obviously full of shit. But, you know, if I'm making a mistake, if I have a fundamental misunderstanding of a case, and you've got evidence, you're on the other side, and you got something that will show me the error of my ways, for God's sakes, do it so that I can alter my advice to my client, and we can put a stop to this.
And we can
frivolous
reduce
matter.
costs to your
Right.
client or your person or you, whoever you may be, because here's the thing. No one wants to, no matter how much they lie about being comfortable paying their attorney's fees, no one actually wants to pay tens of thousands of dollars when they don't have to. And this weird idea that stuff is going to be released at trial. No, it's going to come out well before
Oh, yeah,
trial.
no, you'll have to.
Yeah.
If you don't give us that stuff significantly before the trial happens, you won't be allowed to introduce it as evidence.
Right. This
So-
isn't Columbo or
No,
whatever.
it's not. Yeah, Perry Mason.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, you will still be required to turn it over to us under oath, or you'll be talking, or where you'll be, representing that it's legitimate. But if you want to release that in public, knock yourself out. I don't care. You're not. You're going to release something, and we're suddenly going to go, "Oh my God, we better drop the suit." Come on.
Well, maybe.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
guess
in-
theoretically, there
In
could be
theory,
something.
there could be something that changes the mind
Right.
of the plaintiff or the defendant.
But I mean,
as
here's
it
the
were.
thing. If you want out of this case, and this is for anybody, and it's for anybody in a case like this, if you want out of this case early, you deal.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You I've always said that my opponent's job is to make me an offer I can't refuse. And I guess to some extent that's my job too,
Right.
for them. But you ain't getting out of this now by releasing information, because I frankly just don't believe it. That you got it. You want out, deal.
Sure.
I mean,
The Texan 83 said, oh wait, no. John Gwensel says, Nick and Ty, I have a small bottle of whiskey I would like to send you guys to share. It's a special 2019 Texas Whiskey Festival blend. What's the best way to get it to y'all from Austin?
well, we live about 1,000 miles apart.
We do.
That would be the problem, man.
The best way, if the intent is for us to share it, best way is probably to send it your way.
Yeah, I guess, and I'll stick it up there next time you're in town.
Yeah, and I'll be in town at least 2 more times this year, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So you could send that to Ty's office if you want to do that. If you send it up to me, it's a little harder because I would have to bring it down to Texas with me, and that sometimes on a plane that's difficult. I don't, especially with a nice whiskey. I don't like transporting them in a carry-on or in a check bag.
Yeah, and you don't want them. I mean, TSA. There's that'd be the one time they'd want to go test it.
Yeah.
See if it were.
Exactly. And we know that TSA is largely incompetent, especially in their whiskey choices. Lulu CC says, question for Ty. Any chance of a possible lawsuit for Shane in the second round? I don't know if you want to answer that. You can say yes or no.
I don't even hardly know who that guy is. I mean, I'll just be honest.
Sure.
I saw you destroy him on your show. I mean,
Also, any chance you could have his chair retain you and give the chair a good discount rate? Could you also help with getting his shoes a restraining order against him? Thanks. What do we have to crowdfund for you to get his shoes for their imminent murder and consumption?
yeah, we have to establish standing for the shoe, though. That's going to be a problem.
Shoe and standing, come on.
Yeah.
That's a dad joke waiting to happen.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Nunya F. Business says, Jesus loves you all. Thank you. Professor Azrael says, hey guys, I have a stalker. She would have been my stepsister. Now she is accusing me of sexual assault. The problem is I was living in Nevada during the time she says it happened. She was in Washington. What should I do and why? The best answer I can give you is you need to consult an attorney in your state to talk about a restraining order against this person.
I would think so.
I can't tell you whether or not that's a good play because that would probably creep into legal advice, but talk to an attorney in your state. That's typically where you have standing to bring a restraining order. See what their opinion is. If you need a referral, send me an email. I can try and get you one through my network, but no promises, but I can try. But you got to talk to a lawyer in your state about that.
The good news is there are plenty of lawyers in every state.
Right.
I mean,
there are.
You should be able to find one.
Yeah, and if you guys, if you're calling attorneys and they have a consulting fee for an initial consult, call a different attorney.
Yeah,
Call a
I would
different
at least-
attorney.
I would at least try a different attorney.
And-
That seems.
Unless you're a very wealthy individual and you're looking at very high-priced attorneys, or you're a corporation. If you're just a person looking for something like a restraining order, family law advice and stuff, strongly consider just calling every attorney before you decide to pay a consult fee. Many attorneys will do a consult for you for free, and that's
Yeah. Now there are some practice areas where that does occur, like immigration.
Right.
But I'm talking, but normal, just standard kind of stuff that we're talking about. For the criminal defense bar may do some of that too. I don't know.
yeah.
You know,
I will tell you, I do all of my attorney consults for free.
I do too.
And the premise, of course, is that my answer might be, I can't help you at all, and I would really feel bad charging someone, a couple $100 to say, thanks for telling me your story, I got nothing.
Yeah.
So
that's
call
the way
around.
to do it.
Call around. Sometimes, if there are attorneys that have a consulting fee, ask the people you know in the area, because if they know the attorney, sometimes they can kind of prime the pump on them and get past that consulting fee.
I would also put in a plug for the solos.
Yeah.
That's, everybody thinks.
I mean, solo practitioner, to be
solo
clear.
practitioner, sure. Everybody thinks, I'm going to go to a big firm, da-da-da-da. I have seen no correlation whatsoever in the quality of opponents based on the size of their law firm.
Right.
There's no correlation in my experience. Lawyers are highly individualistic.
How is my computer running out of battery? That's pathetic.
Do you not have a charger?
No, I left it down the road.
Don't.
Sanico says, picked up the GSG MP40 and STG 44, both 22 long rifles in Canada. They're pure fun to shoot for a mid-price firearms. You lucky mofos in the States get the semi 9mm MP40. Yeah, well, sorry that you live in Canada. My condolences
But
to
y'all
you.
are very polite.
Very,
There's that.
very. Bartimaeus 1 says, I just wanted to say thank you so much to you and Ty. For years, these psychotic control freaks, they often come bearing blue check marks, have been subverting our hobbies, and it's so good to see some serious pushback. You're welcome. Intimidator0108 says, just recently got my Palmetto State Armory PA-15 that I bought while overseas in Kuwait in 2017. It has our deployment year and state patch etched on the magazine well, and I just recently got a new rear iron sight for it. Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome, buddy.
Nice.
Jesse N says, we need to invade the SJW hobbies and change it to fit us. But the SJW hobbies is invading our hobbies.
Right.
That's
They're miserable people. They don't have hobbies.
Yeah.
Their
If they
hobby
did,
is destroying your hobby.
if they did, they wouldn't have time
Right.
to do this,
Right.
because
No.
like all of us, they'd be sitting around having fun rather than being so stinking pissy.
How pathetic is your life that you devote your spare time to trying to destroy other people's lives?
Right.
How pitiful is that?
Very,
It's
very pitiful.
these
To answer your
people-
question.
These people need help, but I'm tired of. I'm not going to try to help them. I'm just going to try to put a stop to it.
Absolutely.
Best I can.
The Zero Blade says, guys, I want to say thanks for all the streams and info. Been having a really rough couple of months, and seeing y'all stream brings me a lot of joy. I'll be praying for y'all and keep up the amazing work you do. Hey, thanks, buddy.
Keep your chin up, man.
Yeah. Phases. Life comes in phases and cycles.
A little bit of wisdom, such as it is. We have a bad habit as human beings of thinking that things are going to always be exactly like they are now. So when things are really, really crappy, there's a strong tendency to think, well, this is how it's going to be here on out. It ain't true. Look back at your own life, up and down.
Yep.
Keep your chin up, ride it out.
Solo Beverly says, is there any new info on Igor, Iago, and Renfield that we can get hints on?
No, because I'm afraid that if I give too many hints, they know who they are. And the first round of discovery.
To be fair, I don't know if Igor is smart enough to know who Igor is.
Right. Well, that's sort of the definition of Igor. I mean, that's why
Right.
we called him Igor. They'll be involved after the initial round of discovery because that's when I feel like we'll have what we need to firm up that.
Right. We'll see if I can give hints on a different stream sometime. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that becomes appropriate. Automata says, I saw some of the responses to Vic's announcement as appearing at that Irish con. Right away there were responses calling him evil and dangerous to be around children. Even now I find that mildly shocking. Yeah, of course. It is. It's not mildly shocking. It's very shocking that these people are still that vindictive.
There is literally no evidence whatsoever. Right? This
Right.
is just crap these lunatics have made up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Sorry, it
no, they're
pisses me off.
Imagine, if you will, being a literal nobody, which all of us have been literal nobodies at some point in time, but latching your life on the idea of destroying someone who other people like. Now imagine that when you act on that, you suddenly have an impact that you've never had before. Like no!
Lost
The computer. We've lost it. That's okay. No, the stream's still going.
but the super chats are.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull them up on this thing
Okay.
on my phone. Oh, God. But we'll get that pulled up. But imagine that you've never ever had an impact on anything, and suddenly you lying gives you an inordinate amount of power over someone successful. That is an intoxicating drug for these people. So a little lie becomes a bigger lie, becomes a bigger lie. Suddenly it's, I was at a con and Vic was mean to someone. Then it's, well, I was at this con and Vic assaulted me. Then it's, well, I was at this con and Vic assaulted a minor. Well, produce some proof of that. Oh, well, I don't have it anymore. Okay. That's your first clue that person is lying. Okay. Assault of a minor is not, think about how revolted you are by assault of a minor, and then try and put yourself in the headspace of someone who would not only not cover that up, or would not report it, but would cover it up and then lose the evidence. Like, think of who that person is. Are we trusting this person?
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
I'm pulling this up right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They're lying. Okay, they're lying. This stuff is, and kudos, I assume, to the Dublin con for not giving in to these people. But this is, there's another side point of this too. I was talking about this with my daughters earlier this week, but over the weekend. When you go out and you try to destroy people's livelihoods, okay, their ability to make a living, sooner or later, you lunatics are going to do that to somebody who's going to take a gun and blow your head off. Okay, it's not going to happen in this case or anything like that. But law of averages, and I'm going to say this just myself, you get exactly what you deserve. You get exactly what you deserve. You guys are playing with fire, and you're too stupid and fanatical to understand that. But I'll tell you right now, myself personally, somebody wrecked my ability to feed my family over some lies because they disagreed with my politics, or they just didn't like me, or they were jealous. I guarantee you, I'd probably not be able to resist the urge to put one right between your eyes. And I'd sleep like a baby the night I did it. Because the thing is, when you go around destroying people's ability to make a living, you're effectively destroying them. You know, you people are horrible. Those
Really?
that are doing this.
Really,
you're just disgusting.
I've said the same thing. At some point, when you take away someone's ability to earn income, and it's not like these allegations just remove you from the field you're in. This type of stuff follows you place to place, and suddenly someone can't get a job anywhere, and it's all based on someone's dire need to be mad at someone for not signing their artwork or whatever stupid reason they have, their own pet project of justice. You take away people's ability to take a living, and eventually, what do they have? What do they have to lose?
I'll tell you right now, you don't want me on the grand jury. You know, deciding the fate of someone who has capped somebody who lied and ruined their lives. Because I'll no-bill him in a heartbeat. I'll no-bill him in a heartbeat. Because the way I see it, you got what you deserved. I mean, we're letting idiot children run around with dynamite. That's what we're doing. I mean, that's the level of risk that we're engaged here. And we got to figure out a way to put a stop to it.
Yep.
If we're going to have a civilized country and a society, we've got to figure out a way to put a stop to it. We're trying to do our part. I never really saw myself as a crusader. I just saw myself as a lawyer doing a job.
Right.
But, you know, it's just loathsome.
And let me say this to the chat. What we need to do, while I of course appreciate all the chats that came in, we need to be wrapping up the stream. So this is so weird, but please don't send any more super chats. What we're going to do is I'm going to finish up the high dollar, $20 plus super chats that are out there because it's getting late. Ty's got to work tomorrow. I've got an early plane to catch. I will tomorrow go through every chat that was missed on the stream today. We'll make sure and get them read. It's my policy to read all the chats. It's just the way today worked out. It's not really conducive to doing that. So let me finish these up. Again, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us.
For putting up with our ineptitudes.
Right. Yeah, we're not talking about that time.
Okay, yeah, right.
We were on time and under budget.
There you go. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, considering we came up with this idea yesterday.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, hey, we could just do this.
Rolana1 says, just asking, but can you get this brigading against Vic stopped before it goes any further via the legal system? It's not fair to the cons or Vic. Unfortunately, the legal system moves very slowly.
Right.
And at some point, of course, the goal is that the people involved in this will pay a price that other people have to look at and go, before I engage in this, is this worth it for me? That's the goal. In the meanwhile, unfortunately, you can't ask a judge to stop people from doing something,
No,
especially when we don't know who they are. These emails and brigading against cons aren't all. We know some are obviously coming from the parties because we've got text messages to prove it, but we don't know where all of it's coming from, and so you can't get a judge to try and exercise jurisdiction over the entire internet and stop them from doing something. That honestly is a battleground that is up to us to fight that on social media. And that's where I am, right? I am not part of the legal team, but my personal goal in this is to try and win the social fight long before the court battle takes place.
I'd like to offer some advice to other people that get accused of this kind of stuff. Tell what happened, get it out there as quick as you can, and do not take it down. Do not. If somebody says, this person assaulted me, put out there on the internet exactly what did happen. I mean, for example, the jelly bean story, people are going, oh my God, that's it? Yeah, that's what they investigated.
Yep.
I mean, that puts a whole different cast on everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sure deflated a lot of the investigation talk, too.
Yeah. And And I'll tell you this, we will do our level best to get the real stories out. I mean, we wanted a protective order for confidentiality for one specific purpose. That's all. And we got a better, frankly, I'm more satisfied with what we got. You know, they've made a big deal about they want this out in public. They're going to get their wish because we're okay with that.
They wanted it out in public.
Mm-hmm.
They've said, remember that when they start whining about this stuff being leaked, and because these people have no foresight as to what information. I don't even know the possibilities, because you get into a deposition, you get into a line of questioning on the stand, they say one thing that maybe as a lawyer you don't know, you suddenly get to follow a rabbit trail that you didn't know existed. You get to do it live. They have to start talking about it. They're under oath. They may be caught off guard. Maybe they don't even realize what they've said. That leads, because lawyers are very good interviewers. And I'm not going to say lawyers pick up on things that people they're talking to don't realize they're saying. That's the beauty of depositions. That's the beauty of cross-examination, is that they're these long endeavors. You're under pressure. You're not in your own environment. You're answering questions, and one slip up on the answer means that there's suddenly a rabbit trail to follow. And no one, including the person asking the questions, the person answering the questions, or the person who's prepped either side, knows what's going to be involved in those answers.
No.
And that stuff is going to come out. And trust me, there will be whining and reeing for days when that stuff gets made public. I would not be surprised to find the very parties who were begging for everything to be public today begging for a confidentiality order within the next month, because they're going to have to deal with the reality of how bad their actions look when you start putting it down on paper and everything looks different in black and white on a page.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. All of your claims, and this is true of us too.
Right.
All your claims, we're going to ask for evidence, and you're going to have to produce what you got. And, for instance, you say there's 100 women who are going to corroborate these reports. Okay, who are they? You're going to have, we're entitled to know,
Or else you're going to lose that claim. Yes. I mean, that's there's two options. You will have to identify 100 people.
Nick, you're not legally allowed to refuse to answer the question.
Right.
Now, you can be struck with sudden amnesia, I suppose. But, I mean, that's one of the things that the legal system is good at, and that will help defeat these lunatics in general, these social justice, false accusers in general, is that they do have to answer the questions.
Right.
They don't get to say, I'll tell my story when I'm ready. That ain't how it works.
No.
And that's in any case, not just ours. I'm not. What I'm saying here are generalizations for all such cases. I'm not making specific comments about our case.
Right.
As a courtesy.
Well, this is the nature of an action that involves specific statements of fact. If you say if you say there were 100 football players that engaged in improper activity, or in Minnesota had a case with the Minnesota Vikings on a cruise ship on Lake Superior, I think it was, or Lake Minnetonka, and there was allegations of sexual impropriety that happened on that boat. If you're going to say that there were 15 of the Minnesota Vikings involved on that boat and in the activities, you have to name them. And if you can't name them,
or describe them, or
if you can't identify these 15 people, say it's 3 that you can, that's going to start looking really bad that you said there were 15, because it's going to look like you were stretching the truth.
Well, here's the thing: if you'll lie about this, what else will you lie about? That's the basic. If you want to plead the truth as a defense, you're going to have to prove the truth.
Right.
This case is interesting in a lot of ways, but we can fight this. We can win this war. We got to have the resources to do it. But
right.
The legal system isn't much interested in. No, I'll tell you when I'm ready. No, you'll tell us when we ask.
All right. Diablo says, Ty, I'm so glad I finally got to see a stream with you. I would like to thank you both for doing what you have been for the past few months. I raise a glass of Canadian whiskey to the both of you.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
You too, sir.
Yes.
Sir, question mark, I assume.
Well, it's Diablo, so it is the Spanish devil in Canada.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go.
Sir Holy Phoenix. Everyone keeps calling you late and gay, but if we think about it, you are earlier than your regular streams, so at least gay and at least late stream ever. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, by the way, I don't want to forget this, Nick. We do have a gift for you from Beard and Harris.
Ooh.
Yes.
What is this is Texas whiskey.
Yep.
Texas Republic. Everything is better in the shape of Texas.
I think so.
I agree. Yeah. That's
You
thank
really
you.
Can't dispute that. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
That was,
I will.
When we saw that, we thought of you.
Yeah, I'll either have to figure out how to transport it back, but we'll make it happen.
Oh yeah, there's that. Well, that doesn't solve the problem. I'm saying you could give it to you anyway, Matsuri, but you still got to get it back.
Right. Well, but see, I might have a checked bag that time.
We'll
see. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
I do.
Our ability and station can figure these things out.
Yes, we can navigate the postal system if
Absolutely.
nothing else. Gobrin Strayer says, "Would you be interested in doing a stream covering the ins and outs of getting U.S. citizenship? I'm sick of the overly stupid gun laws and the direction Australia is going, but it's a murky labyrinth of BS to navigate. I would need to bring on an expert."
Carrie would be a good choice.
Sure.
She's the legal. I would say the legal attaché for our immigration department.
Gotcha. I'll have to maybe discuss that with her. Yeah, I would love to. The immigration is a very specific field of law, and the rules are critically important to follow. And so.
Didn't we help a friend of yours?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. You did, and thank you.
Carrie handled that.
Right. Mithrin Emrys says, my law school actually offers quite a few practical skills classes, including how to run a small firm. I'm in a class right now that focuses on how to conduct client interviews, depositions, etc. Maybe. I hope your professors have run a small firm.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. But everything gets different when you're writing the checks and when your name's on the on the responsible party.
In an academic setting, the one thing they really can't model are the real world pressures of time and money.
Yeah.
I mean, your clients can only afford to pay you a certain amount, and you have to be able to make decisions about when have I done enough.
And see what they say when you ask them, what do you do when your client threatens to punch you in the face?
Yeah.
No comment on that ever happening.
See if they have a course on how to collect money from clients that don't pay you.
Right. It's simple. Take it up front.
I suspect that might be a good test to see if they've actually run a firm, because that's it.
Yeah, that's the only way. And if you don't take it up front, consider every dollar that you do get a blessing.
Yeah.
Samuel Montana says, have either of you had a client that attempted to skip attorney's fees?
That's too good.
All of them.
Actually, because mostly of the clientele that I represent, I have remarkably few receivables that I've never collected on.
Sure.
I can count on one hand.
As a small criminal defense attorney, let me suggest that you get all fees up front in cash.
Absolutely.
That was the first lesson learned.
Yes.
Out of law school.
We get criminal. I mean, we tend to flat free. When we take criminal matters, we flat fee them, and we get it up front.
Yep. Yeah. And that's one thing you'll get to learn running a small firm is how to budget a criminal defense case by the charge, by the facts. You will figure out very quickly how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, if you ever want to be a solo practitioner, find a contingent fee lawyer and talk to them about how they do it, because they are extremely good at figuring out, what cases are worth, how much work it's going to take, because that's their whole business model.
Right. Ryan Mercado says, hey, Nick, enjoy a bit of my tax refund. Hey, thank you. I'm going to donate to the Vic GoFundMe. If I win the lottery, I'm going to donate a portion of the winnings to the GoFundMe. Together, we will vindicate Vic and restore the status quo. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Best of luck on the lottery.
Absolutely.
I'm Justin Y, and I post pointless trash, says also ugly. Which, yes, also ugly. Nick's adult-like beard says, so me and my buddy are planning to move to Texas. We're looking for nice spots, not too big or too small. Been talking about Waco or Athens, maybe outside Tyler, somewhere in between Houston, Dallas, and Austin. Any suggestions?
Athens is nice. Athens is sort of between Tyler and Dallas.
Sure.
Maybe an hour away from Dallas. That's a great thing. If you're an hour away from Dallas, you can get anything you want and still have the small town environment. I like Athens.
The problem with Tyler's actually a pretty interesting city because it's big, but it's small for Texas.
Yeah.
You have a lot of things available to you, lots of good restaurants. The roads are like Russian roulette.
Oh, yeah.
Because the average age of the driver in Tyler is 265.
Yeah, and we just didn't do a very good job of matching expansion of the road system with expansion of the city.
Right. Well, you need handicap lanes.
Yeah. yeah, there is that too.
Every stoplight is a death trap.
Our office is across the street from the main mall in Tyler and next door to the retail hub. And so Christmas time at our office is just, I mean,
you know why I
like
hate
a shooting gallery.
You know why I hate Tyler? Because they replaced Fish City with Dressin Gaudy.
Fish City. Now, which one was that?
Fish City. It was it's not far from your office. It was
I've seen Dressin Gaudy someplace.
Well, that's where Fish City was.
Oh, okay.
And Fish City was really delicious. They had a country fried catfish with a jalapeno corn chowder gravy.
Yeah.
I could eat it for
a
days.
little bit of heaven.
It was good. It was good.
By the way, I got a Kiwi Farms comment. Do tell the guy that's the head of Kiwi Farms. I did talk to Vic about changing his name to Vic Montana.
Okay.
But we decided that sounded way too much like a 70s porn star, so we decided not to.
It's also complex to change names in the middle of litigation.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was fascinating his complete inability to actually pronounce it.
My friend
Vic Lasagna, Vic Montana.
My friend Dick calls him Vic Lasagna.
Yeah.
Lulu,
but I did try.
Lulu CC says, question for Ty. In the motion hearing, on a cuck scale of 1 to 10, how bad was Casey? You don't have to answer that.
I'm not going to do that.
Do you feel you were looking at a Ron Soye 2.0 in the courtroom? You don't have to answer that either. Also, how did you like that win for Casey? Total joke on that part. We discussed that earlier.
We did.
He has no comment on that. Thank you. Next question.
I'm happy for anybody if they think they've won.
There you go.
We certainly believe we did, so if they won, then that was a win-win.
Morty J says, hello, Mr. Beard. Greetings from a fellow Texan in Louisville. Louisville, not Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville.
Dallas
Dallas suburb.
Yeah. I was curious if you could shed some light on taking on the stupidity of Casey. Again, these are questions that he can't really answer. I worry that he is simply drawing out the case and draining the GoFundMe. Well, let me comment on that. I mean, that's an oft-cited theory. The problem with the theory is that anytime your opponent has a $175,000 head start, if you are not on the Forbes 100 list, that's a bad plan.
Yeah, I call that attrition warfare.
Right.
And the problem with attrition warfare is it's just about dollar for dollar. If I'm going to cost my opponent $10,000, I got to spend $10,000. It's in my opinion, it's not a wise strategy for anybody in a situation. On rare occasions, we resorted to attrition warfare because we needed to for whatever reason. But it's difficult because you might as well just call somebody up and say, hey, why don't we both agree to burn $1,000 today,
right,
in each day,
until
we get tired of it,
Exactly.
So I think the parties in this case, our side and the other side, they are hiring professionals. Those professionals have a job to do, and I respect that. And there are multiple theories and philosophies on how to do it. I don't, for the moment, claim that I know how to do everything the best way. I would make a lot of decisions differently, but I'm sure but they'd say the same.
Right.
I'm willing to assume at this point that our opponents are quality people. There's no reason to. No, it doesn't really help too much to trash them. I mean, but if you enjoy it, I guess that's fine. But
I do,
yeah,
but that's
yeah.
me.
Well, that's
Yeah.
But no, I don't bear any of the lawyers in this case any particular ill will.
Well, it's always important to remember that your opposing counsel is operating maybe not on a different set of facts. They may be, but they're definitely on a different narrative of the factual situation that exists.
Right.
Their clients have told them their side of the story, and they have to operate under that because they don't have the ability until discovery is long complete to really figure out your narrative of the events that have happened.
Right.
So what you may perceive as incompetence is based on your narrative of the facts. And that narrative will be biased. There's no one who's immune to that.
Yeah.
So that's something to remember.
We attempt to guard against that. You know, we it's not that we don't believe our clients, but we attempt to always bear in mind that, you know, there's two sides to every story.
Right.
And there, you know, the other, you never know what the other side is operating under in terms of how much money they've got available, what their tactical objectives are, what kind of pressure they're getting from their clients to do certain things. You know, we work for the clients. The clients have every right to insist that I put something in the pleadings that I really don't think go there. You know, and I mean, I can get all horsey and say, well, I'm not going to do that out of my own ethics. They'll just fire you and get somebody else.
Right.
I mean, you know, so I'm not going to badmouth my opponent.
No, and yeah. Morty J says, hello.
Appreciate the support, of course. I don't mean to scold our allies. I don't mean that at all.
Right. No, but again, remember that Ty has to deal with other people, and insulting them isn't conducive to his job. Whereas me insulting them is just me having fun.
Right.
And okay, so I read that one from Morty J. John, there are two left, and then we're going to wrap up the stream.
Okay.
John Hendrickson says, hate to be that guy, but the British used Martini Henry rifles in the Zulu War.
Oh, God, you're right.
Oh, you pleb.
Oh, God.
I didn't want to call him out on stream for it.
It's the whiskey talking. God, really? I said Lee Enfield, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wasn't that the World War I rifle?
Yeah, that's the bolt action. Yeah.
The real expert.
Mea culpa. But thank you for bringing that up.
John. An office mate of mine brought one back from Kabul, and it's a hoot. Also, M1A is a funny way to spell FAL.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the FN FAL came out after the 14, but I'm not sure. The 14 basically is an automatic version of the M1 Garand of
Sure.
World War II fame with a box magazine, you know. But it's a wonderful. I mean, it is a big, manly, mighty gun. I can only, after holding one of these things and owning one, I can't imagine when the troops in Vietnam got the M16.
Right.
What the hell is this?
Yeah.
This plastic toy, because I mean, the 14 is a mighty gun.
I just single hand a Ma Deuce myself. That's what I do.
There you go.
You can tell by how big my shoulders are.
Right, yeah.
Fairy Tale Master, this is the last chat again. Hey Nick, first super chat, thank you. Love your show and your rants. Ty, your thoughts on how Vic's case will go and any news on Todd's case?
No news on Todd's case at the moment. Possibly in the future. Vic's case is going to go the way it goes. We have our strategy is exactly what anybody would expect. We're going to get the story out, and we're going to say it didn't happen and try to hold the other side accountable. I have confidence in our legal system. I think we've got a good judge. We've got the law and the facts are largely on our side. If we have any weaknesses, it's just we don't necessarily have all the evidence we need yet. But it's way early in the case too.
Right.
I'm not overly worried about that.
All right, guys. Well, that was the last chat we're going to read on stream. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, all of the chats that were sent in the little pre-stream blip, as well as the ones that did not get read here on this stream, I will address all of them tomorrow Thank you so much for supporting the show, of course, and hanging out with us tonight. Thank you to, well, I'm like your guest.
I guess, yeah, you're my guest.
Yeah, you're hosting the show. Do you want to close out the show with any final thoughts?
Yeah, as always, it's fun. I enjoy these things, Vic. You're a really good interviewer.
Oh, thank you.
Show, and I appreciate the chats. It's a hoot.
Yeah, I am going to hold you to the live reaction to the stupidest lawsuit I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, I've often been told I'm pretty transparent about those kinds of things. So
That's good, because this matter is complete, and we know the results. So there is no problem dumping on the quality of work.
Yeah.
Also, the lawyer who drafted that pleading is the first ethics complaint I ever received.
Oh, really?
To be fair, I did read his DUI trial transcript on camera, where his dad had to defend him in a DUI.
Well, here we go.
This guy got enough DUIs to have his license permanently revoked.
His law license? Or
No, his driver's license. Yeah. He's a bike cop now. Well, because he can't drive.
Oh, right, yeah. Bike cop. Okay, got it. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
It will. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you. I will talk to you tomorrow night, same time as normal, 11 p.m. Central, and we'll. What? Oh,
I did. Early in the when I was waiting on you to get here, I did go into the chat and say Nick's coming, but he's not here yet. That was me.
Yeah.
People like, is that really Ty? Yeah, that was me.
That was Ty. Yeah. That was Ty. I was running late from a dinner appointment, and I do profusely apologize. And then I was making an absolute disaster of the tech issues. So it's all on me. I take full responsibility.
All's well that ends well.
Right. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and you guys have a good night. Peace. Of course, I don't have the thing to blank it out. So hold on. We're gonna